Welcome to the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Thank you. Episode of the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast for the week of May 1st, 2022. I'm your host, D.
And I'm your second host, Juice. How's it going, everybody?
You'd have one half of the first, you know what I'm saying? There's no second here, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
even
right.
if you third, we need to get another. I asked Chris Hare, actually, yesterday to come on the cast,
Yeah?
man. But he's doing his thing on Sundays. Hard for him to make it on. Hey, man.
It'd be cool, man, to have C back on here.
Got a couple topics up tonight, man. So we were talking about the Batman. Juice here.
Yeah.
See, get his thoughts on that. And yeah, we definitely never did the review before because Juice hadn't seen it yet. Wasn't the most exciting of movies, but
Yeah, I just actually finished it earlier today. I started it last night, and then the edibles kicked in, and then we finished it this morning. So
yo, I had some edibles last night, man. It was crazy. I was like, these shit has to, like, I was feeling the jokes, but wow.
No, like it's like new for me, man. But like the edibles are actually, man.
You know, I didn't know.
I don't know. I like vaping. I like vaping the best, but the edibles are pretty damn good, man. Like
one off for you guys, man. I didn't know this was like, you know, I think there's all different types of things now. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like back in the day. We just go up to the corner guy and buy, you know, whatever. We don't know what it is, right? You know, like now you got options, man.
You're right. These are all refined.
Yeah,
special candies, you know, like so the place we went to buy in DC, dude, the place is like I showed you that piece of art we got.
Yeah.
And that's the gifting, right? So you pay for the money and then they give you the trees as a gift on the side.
Was it like a brick and mortar building or was it like an outdoor market setup?
No, it's a brick and mortar building, man. Second floor of this building, security, everything's locked up. You got paintings on the wall. It's a nice vibe in the place. The music going. It's a cool spot, man. And then they got all kinds of selections. And
I was telling somebody, man, I don't go to DC near enough, man. Every weekend there's something to do out there, man. A comedy show. We were close to going to a comedy show last night, but we didn't go. But it was in DC, man. Like there's always something cool.
Yeah, we definitely overlook it.
And dude, we definitely got to make it back to the Black History Museum.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of Black history, I guess we're starting off with the family.
Yeah, so topic we're going to cover is a review of the documentary or the docu-series The Family, which is a 5-episode miniseries on Netflix that talks about kind of like the behind the scenes workings of the National Prayer Breakfast, an organization that had a religious organization, a Christian religious organization that seems to have a singular law, a hand in American politics that's been going on for years and years, like decades.
And it's even crazier the kind of influence that this guy, who a lot of us have probably seen in photos but have never maybe heard of, Doug Coe. I mean, I still don't even know what he does. What was his actual occupation? How did he? I'm sure they explain how he garnered his influence. He had a National Prayer Breakfast, and you know he kept things together and he kept the relationships. But what did he actually do?
Like, good question. Was he a pastor or was he like a preacher? I don't think so.
I think he was, because he used to hold a prayer.
Probably.
You know, and people spoke highly of him. You know, that townhouse. Okay, I guess we can start from it.
Oh yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, that the townhouse they had where all the senators would go and stay, and all these prominent, senators from both sides, Republican, Democrat, congressmen, different, business types would all stay in this house, and it'd be like 10. My bad. It'd be like 10 or 11 guys just living inside this house doing prayers, circles. That Doug Coe be at the center of all this. So let's I should have done it before, man. Let me Google Doug Coe. See what he
essentially, like what you just mentioned is like the biggest issue for me. Like the whole, like, oh, there's both sides. You got the Democrats here and the Republicans here,
Right.
both going to this like invite only event, you know, and that's supposed to be solely like focused uh on like what religious values in America, and it seems so like counter constitution, right? Like this is not something that we're supposed to be entertaining, especially the politicians and the people in power. Like they should know better than to have themselves tied to this promoting this religious, like distinctly Christian organization ahead of uh
Yet they
in the
do.
public eye, you know.
There's supposed to be a separation of what they call it
Church
politics
and
and
state.
God, religion. Yeah, church and state.
Right.
But they openly, I mean, seeming to me from this series, they openly admit to being in it. Guys were being interviewed for what they did there, and it's like, how did? Okay, it raises the question of if we can get together, Republicans, Democrats from all sides, or every area of the country, all business types, we can get together and come to terms on things like what we're doing inside this house, whatever prayer, breakfast, whatever kind of dealings we're going on in this house. Why can't we do that in the Capitol? Like, why can't we do that on the job as well? You know what I mean? Why is there so much division between the parties when this group seems to be able to work together? You know, I guess because the parties are bigger than this one group, obviously. But it just seems, what are we discussing here? Is this strictly about prayer, or is it some kind of backroom dealings going on? What's happening
That's a
here?
good question.
Hey, I
Like
vote
to me,
late.
like yeah. Like to me, like that's a good question, and it comes down to like, so if you guys are on the same page with this, why are there suddenly a distinct uh, uh, disagreement on whether or not we should fund certain programs to help uh, people who need help and people living in poverty, right? While all of a
Public.
sudden, don't we have like like if this is a Christian organization, why don't we have the funding to house and take care of the people who are the numbers of people that are increasing in the streets, right? Who are living homeless, right? Without homes on the streets. Um,
I
and
mean,
then you see it on the counter ways too. Like, so I don't think it's really in the Bible at all about the whole abortion thing. But then again, it's like, if that's what they're on the same page on, right? If they're on the same page about abortion, like, hey, abortion is evil, you're murdering something that's not born yet or doesn't even really exist as an independent entity yet. That's murder. God hates it, even though it says nowhere in the Bible anything of the sort. And
right.
then and they're on the same page with that. So when you look at the states who are taking these drastic measures that they have with these whole the bounty bills they're putting out, they're anti-abortion, and you see there's not a lot of pushback, right? You know, it's a lot of talk, but not a lot of action and pushing back against the stuff. You got to wonder, like, is it because they're all in the same quote unquote church or the same religious angle,
It
right?
was just
It's
so
like,
weird.
is this a setup? Because
I
that's what it feels like.
I didn't know where the show started and the documentary ended, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know. Like, I was like, is this still acting? Is this part of the? They kept switching between. Speaking of the family, the actual show that we watched.
Mhm.
Like when they kept switching between uh what was it,
Like
the
they're
initiate guy who was getting jumped on. Remember at the beginning, and they were telling him
yeah.
just trust in
I forgot
Jesus.
his name.
That thing was weird too. Just trust in Jesus. They had this book that just outlined the teachings of Jesus, and was it about Christianity or was it about Jesus? What was in that book? What were the ideals of that were being pushed in this book? You know what I mean? Like, I want to read that book.
Dude, I got some notes on that, Joe. Like, it's essentially just a book of propaganda, right?
Right.
Like
Like,
they cut out the parts of Jesus that they really liked, and here's the thing: like JW's Joe's Witnesses, I grew up JW. We have that. It's not the same book, but we have a book called The Greatest Man That Ever Lived, and it's one of those books that just kind of focus on Jesus and his and how he lived and what he did, and from it they try to extrapolate all of these like lessons and examples for you to live your life by. But one of the weird things about this book that they had at this prayer breakfast, what was it? It wasn't, I forgot the name of the organization. Anyway, the family. Like that book really focused on on putting Jesus in a different light than the light of love that we would understand him. Like one of the examples was they had Jesus as a strong man, a fighter, and one of the guys in the documentary talked about how like if Jesus was alive today, he would have been in the Navy, right, or like some kind of Navy SEAL. It's like, wait, how do you draw that conclusion, right? They talk about the rings of power and how Jesus kept secrets with his disciples and made it so that he had lines of power and authority over the people around him, right? Talking, it's just a bunch of like weird misreadings that, you know, if you read the Gospels, it's hard to pull something like this from like as reading it yourself, right? And they come out with stuff like, oh, the sheep are weak. You want to love the wolf, right? That was one of the quotes from the movie that they talked about from the perspective of this book. And it's really just propaganda. That's what it looked like to me.
And you know what I think? So like I said, business types. I keep saying that's the whole mantra of a business type. You're a wolf, and people are the. I mean, even politicians kind of take on that. You know, the senators, because they own businesses and they're involved in, you know, the corporate side of things as well. So it's like, how religious can you be when you still abide by the rules of capitalism, which say you grow at all costs, expand at all costs. If you gotta cut, if you gotta, you know, if you gotta lay off people to grow the sales, do it. You know, if you gotta cut funding here. So look, so I'll keep looking this up before we get any further. Douglas Coe. This was the head of the family, I guess, whatever this thing is called, the Fellowship Foundation. Okay, Douglas Evans Coe was an American activist and businessman who served as the associate director of the Fellowship, a religious and political organization known for hosting the annual National Prayer Breakfast. Okay, so that's who this guy is. And I guarantee if anybody doesn't know who Doug Coe, they don't know the name of Doug Coe, right? Because I kind of had an idea of it. You will see, remember this guy from pictures. Like you'll have seen a picture with this guy in the background, you know, of presidents. And you're like, okay, so I've seen this guy. Like, what the hell were you doing there? You know what I mean? Like, how does he have all these ties to you know, the African presidents and all people from all over the world come to this one organization? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, that seems like it should be public and you know, it should be more press at this thing to interview people and see what's going on here, because this is what gives the ideas of things like the Illuminati or secret organizations, you know. Yeah, it's weird. So they also have a headquarters from the series. It's in Cedars, a mansion in Arlington, Virginia. And I looked up Cedars on Google Maps. So I mean, this house is ridiculous. I think I saw like it's like a virtual tour of the outside. It's like a little compound, you know, right off the Potomac, right across from Washington. You know, you fly into Reagan National, right? All types of dignitaries from other countries. You can go, you're right at the house. There was a guy in the series talking about how some dignitary came to his house. It was like this African president. I can't remember. It's been a couple weeks since I watched the series. But on in the background, I got the Batman. Did you like the Riddler, real quick? Because he's doing something like with his face is off the screen, and it just distracted me for a second. You know what I mean?
Nah, I thought it was weird. Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Anyway, but the whole thing was weird, man. Like the prayer breakfast and the thing about Jesus, and I was like, what are we doing here? How does this tie in?
So I think like one of the biggest like one of the biggest takeaways, and you talked about the Illuminati part of it, and you talking about how like Doug Cole was always in the background, and that's like the whole thing, right? Like when anybody, and this is my biggest hang up, right? My biggest, well, I have two big hang-ups with the family, this National Prayer Breakfast, and the lessons they're trying to tell, like the people in power, which we're seeing, right? So, first issue, my issue is with the whole idea that you need some background organization to try to corrupt and influence, not even corrupt, but to make people do the right thing. Like you
Right.
need, like, because that's how they present themselves. Oh, we're a Christian organization. We're here to help people do the right thing without actually being democratic, because
And
that's not the angle, right? That the purpose of our democratic government, this republic, is to have the ear of the people and allow people to elect people into power who can make, who they feel will make the best decisions for them. But when you have this secret organization come in to subvert like the decision making abilities of the people who are elected into power, and they did that almost immediately, like you saw with Trump. They were like, oh well, hey, come on in. Like as soon as you see somebody that's popular, they're like, hey, we have to get that person has power. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not about like helping, it's not about being good Christians, right? That's never really what the Christian Bible thumper zealots are about. It's about
not
power. It's about telling people what they're wrong about and why they're wrong, and that we're right. So you should do what we think, right?
maybe
Because that's kind of the whole hang
maybe
up and the whole issue.
maybe with these guys it is. My bad, real quick. Just, I want to say it before I forget. Like with these guys it is, but for most, those kind of ideals are hyped up and pushed forward because it's about power. It's not about actually helping people. But a
Mhm.
lot of it about some Christians, some even religious type people could be some of the best people you've ever met. You know what I mean? Like, so we don't want to say that about all like what Christianity is about
Well,
for these guys versus for everyone else. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
I'm saying that.
for a lot of good people.
Talking about these people in particular,
Yeah, because I
right?
mean,
But people who if you bring your religion into politics, it's not about religion anymore. Like
right,
that's my line, right? Like if you bring your religion and you want people who are not your religion to live their lives under the rules of your religion, then you're not about your religion anymore. You're about power. And I feel like there are a lot of like religious Christian organizations, pastors who feel like that, right? And it's not saying that religious people shouldn't have a say in the government, because they're citizens as well, right? And you vote the way you feel like you should vote. But when you start trying to that's why we have a separation of church and state, right? Separation of religion and our policies and our politics. Because as soon as you cross those two lines, and you become like people nowadays, especially nowadays, man, especially the right now, they want a theocratic government. They want a government that's ruled by the church. They want the Vatican, and they haven't thought too far about it because they're not sure which church is going to be the lead, right? Like which church and which ideals, but that's what they would say, right? That's what the QAnoners, the Bible thumping right wing would say, that hey, we need you'll hear the parents say now with the whole CRT and the whole attack on LGBT. They say it outright. The mothers and the people at the party will say, hey, we need to bring the church back into the schools, like back into the schools, right? Well, they'll outright say this stuff without even
I mean, I think especially maybe for the Black community, I guess you always hear stories about how like the church kind of set up some of the first schools, especially in the Black communities. Like when we couldn't attend public schools, they didn't have a good Black school. So I mean, and plus it's like an old argument though, right? Like the separation of church and state, because you know the founding fathers of the country. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Were some of the most deeply religious people. I mean, we have imprinted on our currency is "In God We Trust." So there's always supposed to have been a separation of church and state, but the ideals of the Christian church, the Catholic teachings have always been pushed. I keep the ideals is going to be my favorite word for this cat.
Well,
It's all
I don't know.
politics through, maybe not even consciously, it's subconsciously, because they're being brought into this thing. And real quick, I wanted to say before I forget, it's hard for these people, especially particularly that are in this organization with Doug Coe, the fellowship, when they adhere to capitalist principles. You can't have the good intent of the people at heart, right? Because the system that you're in, that you are participating in, it doesn't allow for that, right? Like it's cutthroat. It's like, we don't care what's happening over here. We need to grow our market share over here, which is going to lead us into something later on. Does I'm touching on every other subject.
Hold on, let me go back though. Like, when you talking about the whole separate church state and how, like, Black people grew, how we had to learn in churches, right, when we weren't allowed in the public schools and stuff like that. Like, that's the point, right? Like, we don't want to go back to that. Like, the idea is that may have been interesting at that time and maybe necessary, but that's not the goal, right? That's what we're trying to get away from. Like, the goal is for people to go to school, get their education, right, and be able to use it in society, right? Not to push any particular set of morals, not to push any particular, other than the morals of understanding and respecting people's freedoms. That's really the only morals that should be out there, right? So when you have the people come and talking about how they need to, like, I don't even think there should honestly be like Easter and church celebrations. Those are directly, or in Christmas celebrations in school. Like, those are directly religious things, right? Even if they are like pagan mashups, but still, like, they're still both based in the church. I think we should, like, maybe those shouldn't really be. But ultimately, that's not even the point I'm going to hang up on, because the fact of the matter is that what we don't want is them trying to teach Bible stories in school, right? Like, what we don't want them is to teach, like,
I think in this day and age, you kind of can't teach those stories, because you're going to be met with a lot more skepticism. But I think for the times that we're talking about, as far as, like, for the Black people, and I'm only saying this because I've heard stories that a lot of Black churches would set up schools in other shops because you couldn't go anywhere else. I mean, before things were desegregated and everything like that. So some of the best educations probably could have been found in those churches. I mean, I don't think they taught them. For particular stories I heard, they taught them more. You had a lot more Black carpenters and mechanics and trade skills, plumbing.
I'm talking about primary school.
Yeah, but so, like, even nowadays,
like, I'm not disagreeing with you, like, but I just don't think that it's a counterpoint. Like, I think, like, the idea is that we don't want that to happen today, do we?
It depends, because of what kind of educations are they pumping out. I mean, I know for a lot of,
you can send your kid to a private school if you want to. They can go to a Catholic church private school, or any church. They have churches that are private schools, but the idea that the public school should be something that's universally, even for everybody, no matter your religion, is, I think, like, the goal, right? Like, we don't want, like, Hindu children having to learn about Jesus in public school and common school, right? We don't want Muslims
because you have them learning about transgenders, so it could be, you can apply that same principle to a lot of different subjects.
Transgenders aren't in, like, ideology or religion. Like, transgenders, they exist. It's like, you shouldn't have to have them learn about pufferfish. It was like, why? If it comes up, then they should learn about pufferfish if it's in the example. Because why? Because they exist. We shouldn't be like, hey, pufferfish don't exist. They're too weird. We don't really accept pufferfish, right? Well, they exist in the world. And you don't put a good or bad on it. You just say, hey, this is what this is. moving on. But is that like indoctrination, or is that the same as teaching that Jesus is the reason that we are forgiven by God? I don't think
I don't
so.
think most schools teach religious teachings, right? I don't know
I
why.
agree.
I don't know why they would go back to it. I mean, I don't think they're doing it now for the most part. But you can apply that same argument to a
Keep
lot of
watching, man. If you don't think they can go back, like
you can
keep
apply that
watching, man.
to a
Look
lot of
at
different.
Florida.
So like you might not mind for you personally if they touched on subjects and certain issues, but maybe somebody else would. You know what I mean? Like for certain subjects, like I don't care if they teach about this, but I do care if they teach about that. You know, so
Like
it
what?
really is touchy.
Like what though?
Genders. Maybe you
You don't
don't.
want them.
Maybe you don't mind your kid. I'm not saying you personally, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
an individual would not mind their kid learning of transgender issues, whereas the next parent would, but they wouldn't mind their kid learning about God or learning certain principles of Christianity or Catholicism. You know,
I don't know why those are on the same level though, because there's nothing anti-Christian about being transgender, and uh uh there's nothing anti-transgender about being Christian, right? Those aren't opposing sides, right? Those aren't they're
I think
huh?
there is, and I think there's a lot of passages that's in
Where
the
in the
Bible.
Bible does it say that you can't dress as a woman?
Well, I'd have to research specific passages, but there are passages on
Well,
being gay, homosexuality. I'm sure transgenderism, right? Like
and is that something that we want to teach in school, in public school?
it's up to the individual. I might not have a
Runs
problem
an
with it, but
individual, but the individuals don't run the schools.
I,
Like
I
that's why we have school boards.
it's a nuanced subject. So it's it comes down to who minds what. It's almost like politics. Like you'll never have a full agreement.
It is
Hey,
politics.
this is what we should teach. You'll never agree, like because people feel differently.
Hmm.
Like how do you legislate how someone feels? Like you can pass a bill that says you should not be uh, prejudiced against this person, but you can't legislate feelings.
Hmm.
You legislate
Well,
thought.
so the goal of a law is not to change how somebody feels about something, right? It's to protect certain groups,
See,
right?
this is why I said we need a timer for each thing. This is why
I know we're running up on. Actually, I didn't even start the timer on this one, but
yeah.
yeah, we definitely run up on 27 minutes. But
Like,
anyway, we're off topic. Let me mention the other issue I have with the family and this whole documentary. Well, the documentary to me, I think, was great. But my other issue with the family and their train of thinking was the whole idea that the chosen one, right? So that was one of the most dangerous, like, propaganda angles for this organization. When you have people with power thinking that there should be no consequences because they're chosen by God, then you definitely have the perfect catalyst to create a maniacal dictator. Like plain and simply said, that's all it would take. You have a person who's already detached, right, from the common person's problems. You give them a complex that makes them feel like they're above everybody else, and then you tell them that you are, and you should not be consequences for any of your actions because you were chosen. And to me, that's something that they came up with. They came up a couple of times in that documentary that they told that to leaders in the, I forgot which country it was in Africa, but they told it to him. They told it, and of course, Trump is one of them.
right.
Like Trump is one of those guys who feels like there should be no consequences because he is blessed and chosen, and he knows nothing about the Bible, but that's what they tell him. And you have yes men around you reinforcing that. Then all of a sudden, when you lose an election, it's impossible to accept that because you're not supposed to lose. You were chosen, which means somebody must have rigged it, which means blah blah blah, extrapolation. So to me, that's one of the biggest things. And I have the quote, King David. King David was what the parable they used out of the Bible, where the story where King David he had he wanted the wife of his friend, I think one of the generals or something, or one of the people in his kingdom, and so to have her, he sent his friend to the front lines of the war. I can hear myself in the mic, and then suddenly his friend dies in the war, and he has free reign to add that man's wife to his harem, and they point out the fact that God did not make him. He didn't lose any power. He didn't lose anything from that. All he had to do was ask for forgiveness, and God forgave him, and everything was fine. And that should not be how something like that works.
A couple of things. So that's where, speaking of the chosen one, that's where I wasn't sure watching this show where the documentary started and the show ended. All right, because I'm like, chosen one. Do people actually believe it? Like that's what they would tell Trump, right? But does Trump actually believe it? Maybe he's being told promises.
Yo, Trump 100 believes 100. He believed that before any of this.
I'm talking about being like just being practical. Like, you weren't president 4 years ago, so you went from being just Donald Trump to being the chosen one. Like, I don't know if he believes it, or maybe he's being made certain promises, right? And there was also so Doug Coe passed away. Actually, I should have looked this up while you were talking, right? So, and then all of a sudden, like we said, Donald Trump now not in re-election. You notice they said that he passed away 2 years after Donald Trump was elected president. Doug Coe, that is. Then you see Donald Trump with the Bible props, and there's the famous him walking to the church with the upside down Bible and being promoted. Now all of a sudden, damn, I'm not reelected. Hold on, I thought we had this all figured out. I thought we made promises, and if I carried the flag that was handed to me, carried the baton, I would be back in my spot. Right? This is the type of things that lends credence to conspiracy theory. This is what conspiracy theories are born out of. These kind of stories and shows, when you see people like Doug Coe have power over the president of the United States, it's always like they push the Donald Trump to the forefront, but there are people behind the scenes pulling the strings. This show just shows us that we have no idea about, and we get so caught up on who's in front of us that we lose sight of who's behind them. You know, and when you get a new president, even Biden's not running anything. Biden's kind of joined the group. Which is a revolving door policy. So you have, the whole thing about going from banking and top, corporate jobs to politics and then back and forth, and so it's all about who likes you and who doesn't. And obviously, this story is to be believed, which if we're doing a podcast, I should have looked up if Doug Coe actually died 2 years after Donald Trump was elected. But I guess maybe somebody didn't like Trump who was in that group. It's like, yo, Doug Coe's not here. Fuck Trump. We're out. We're going to go this way. Trump, because Trump should be a sore loser because he's been rich and spoiled his whole life. He's not used to losing, especially publicly like that.
Well, I don't know, man.
He's not used to it.
I can hear myself in your mic.
I know, man. Look, you be saying that all the time, man.
You don't stop me for you don't get the feedback. I'm sorry, dude. Like, I did feedback. I don't know why. Like, when I talk, I can hear when you talking. I can hear me. Anyway, I'm sorry.
There are several podcasts, just it'd be random times throughout the cast. You'd be like, yeah, man. So hey, I can hear myself in your mic. Like, man, stop blaming me.
Sorry, dude. Like, it throws me off. I don't want to like cut you off. But anyway, so like what I was saying is that, like, I don't know, man. Like, I hear you. I feel like there's this. So when you have like the whole Illuminati thing, right? Again, I don't believe in Illuminati. And I feel like if there was an Illuminati, it would be the family. But even they aren't organized enough to do the Illuminati thing that people think the Illuminati does. I don't think it's anything as organized as that. I don't think anybody's got their fucking feet on the button, right? I feel like it's like when it comes to money and finances and the revolving door in politics, that's just people grubbing for power, and that's just corporations making an investment by giving money to certain groups of people in the government, and then giving them the money to pretty much beat out anybody else that would be running for with actual numbers or information or with the ear of the people, right? I feel like groups like the family, it's about power definitely, but it's about like religious angle, right? So everybody thinks the Illuminati is some like nefarious satanic organization. Well, what if the evil nefarious organization was a Christian one? Would everybody be so horrified from by the Illuminati if they just ended up being a bunch of Bible thumping uh Protestants or whatever? Like they're just like, so that's just another angle that's just like just shows the hypocrisy of I guess of the conspiracy theorists. A lot of conspiracy theorists, man, they're scared Christians, man. That's what it kind of feels like to me a lot of time. When you talking about flat Earth, when you talking about like the 666 and the vaccines, whatever the fuck that means, like it's just a bunch of scared Christians who never had the courage to sit like to sit and just like realize that there's not a demon sitting behind you at every moment. That's what they think about life. So they're horrified and they're willing to believe anything.
You,
Um,
I think that that angle right there in particular comes from you in particular, your
mhm.
Jehovah's Witness background and your skepticism that you kind of see now on the ideas that were pushed on you when you were younger. So it's like I don't think just scared Christian. I don't think it has to be Christian. I think it comes down to like the human element, right? Because there are levels to conspiracy theories, man. Like when you talk about something like flat Earth versus the Tuskegee experiment, or is it the Tuskegee experiment? Yes, right. So
Well,
I mean, one is
the Stiegler experiment happened.
the flat Earth. We live in a dome and all that. It sounds cool. It's like, damn, if we flew up, would there be a dome there? Would we hit a dome?
Dude, it's fundamentally religious, dude. It's
That's what I'm
fundamentally religious. If
like.
you ever watch any documentaries on this flat Earth stuff, it goes
Yeah,
right back to the Catholic Church.
yeah. What's that whole thing? Scientology and all that stuff, man. That's just
No,
interesting.
no, I'm talking about the Catholic Church. It's
Yeah,
different.
yeah. It's all weird, man. It's all like there are levels to conspiracy theories. Some are
Mhm.
crackpot conspiracy theories, and some have legitimate basis
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
fact. But yeah. Real quick, man. Like before we move on from the family, what was up with that group at the end? Remember that black guy, and it was a Portland or whatever they were. And he was like,
Yeah.
I was like, who is this guy? Like, why does he get a whole segment at the end of this thing? Like, this guy does he just looks like the random Joe Schmo. He kind of made sense, you know.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I think they put them in there to show
Like
that, hey, this
shoulders.
isn't all about Bible thumping and believing in certain chosen ones. Like, people need help. We're here. We're talking about our problems. Like, they're just like we were saying, it's a Christian angle of people who are like actually trying to do good things, right? Christians that are actually living in real life instead of Christians who feel like they need an organization to back them to protect them from their consequences,
It,
right?
it, it was just weird because that guy came out of nowhere, and I was like, he's rubbing shoulders with the likes of Doug Poe, and I mean, maybe not particularly, but why is he even at the breakfast? So you can just like, how much is a ticket?
Wasn't he? Didn't he say like he turned it down?
I
He
thought he
turned
said he
them down.
because that's what I thought that's where he said
I,
he met the camera crew
he
guy.
said he met them, but he said ultimately when they approached him, he was like, "Yeah, no, that's not what I'm about."
Attended many prayer breakfasts. I thought he said he.
Oh,
Nah,
maybe
I thought he
maybe I
said he
misunderstood it. I don't know.
a bunch of. Yeah, I mean,
I thought I misunderstood. I remember.
why would
Yeah,
he
maybe.
be there? So do they have like a regular people like the Trump type prayer breakfast at 7 a.m. and then the regular people's one is at 9:30? Like the regular guy, yeah, this is yours. You can't come to this prayer breakfast, but you can come to this one at 11:30. You come to prayer brunch. I
Prayer
don't
brunch.
know. Yeah, that whole. I don't really know what to think about a documentary. I think it strengthens why people would believe in conspiracy theories overall, right? Because this these people getting together is what a conspiracy is born out of, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are they talking about? What kind of dealings are happening here? It's happening apart from the governance of the country, right? Like these type of things should be handled,
Fundamentally anti-democratic. Yeah.
you know what I mean? And like now it's down to this private group of what things are being decided here. That's why I said like this prayer breakfast should have had way more publicity than and I knew about it, right? But it just wasn't on my mind until the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of this whole series, episode 1. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the fuck does Juice got to be watching this show for? I was like, who is this? I was like, who is this guy? Why is he raking this yard? Like, why are these guys running around? But hey, buddy, come on in. We you know what I mean? Like, we don't drink.
Dude, that was it, man.
You're sitting around playing a guitar and having singing, and I'm like, okay, I'm sure that things like this happen, but I'm like, what am I watching? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then they started.
That was it.
I was like, okay, I see the angle. And then I would tie it into Trump and how he has all these reachings dating back to Nixon and Jimmy Carter and all these guys. Like, who the hell is Doug Coe? And I recognized him from that picture of him and Nixon when he was in the background when Nixon was. I've seen that picture. I think that picture was on like Forrest Gump. That picture was on like I've seen it magazines, just different places, and I never wondered who the fuck that guy was. I was just like, okay, he's a guy in a picture. But when I saw it, I'm like, I've seen this motherfucker. Man.
He's goddamn Palpatine. That's who he is.
He was this guy. Like, okay, so sure, overall, my rating for this series, I'd probably maybe give it a 7 out of 10. It was good. It got good towards the end, and the mid episodes, like you saw how it tied into today's politics. It was definitely weird, and that part at the end with the black guy just felt tacked on. Like, who was this guy?
But then they talked about Trump at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
Like they rolled all that together.
Yeah, it definitely led back to some relevance. So yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man. I thought it was like a mind bending kind of thing. I was just like, man, so like, what is a national prayer breakfast? We're talking about it for years, man. Like every politician goes in DC, it's always a huge thing. It's covered by the media, right? And then we finally got to see, like, as common folk, right? Like, I've only been following politics since what was it, 2016? That's when I actually really started getting into politics, right? Like, Obama got elected. I was like, cool, President Black, that's great. But 2016, I really started following politics, and then to see how the discretions are, man, how corrupt things are, and then I see people worrying about the Illuminati, and I'm like, guys, like, Illuminati is not real. It's not the real issue. The real issue was money and politics. And then you see this group out here, not the Illuminati, right? But like what the Illuminati would be if it could be, right? And they're a bunch of Christian Bible thumping a-holes thinking that the chosen one is gonna ban all LGBT activity, and that's what they want. And I'm just like, this is the documentary was interesting, but this is for a secret organization is very, very disappointing, right? Like, you would want, not that I would want more, but like,
and it makes
do better.
What other organizations
like,
are out there? What else don't we know about? You know what I mean? Like, if I guess that this can be.
That's the thing. Like, if this ain't it, these people have these. This is not a broke organization. This is the richest of organizations. These have the richest of folk in it. Like, this would be the top tier organization, and you see how disorganized and how empty these joints are.
Right. Let me Google if Elon Musk has ever been to a national prayer breakfast. Man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So even the likes of Elon Musk go to the national prayer breakfast. What is being discussed here? Has Will Smith ever been to a national prayer breakfast? Yeah. I mean, overall, I guess it was a good series, but it definitely, the one thing I definitely thought when I finished it was this kind of proves people's points about where, the mistrust of what they put in front of us comes from. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you have conspiracy theories. Don't trust what they put there, because who's in the background of these things? Why are you doing these? Why was this docuseries allowed to be made and put out to the public? Because if it's something that, I mean, did they want us to know about this? I thought the whole point of the fellowship was to be not, I guess, maybe not so secretive, but exclusive is maybe a better word. And now you're making a Netflix docuseries about it. So what?
Not the family didn't do that.
Well, yeah. Now I'm sure they could have.
That's journalism.
When you have an interview,
journalism doing what it's supposed to do.
you have an interview with somebody, you can ask the interviewer, not to ask you certain questions. Don't talk about certain things. So if they're putting out a Netflix docuseries, I'm sure they did not want the public to know with this group's reach and their dealings within, whatever types of dealings they have going on. They could do something to influence whether this documentary was made. They were interviewing people, you know what I mean, that were part of this thing. So,
well, they didn't give up anything.
fellow,
The information he got was from people who
I'm
were
sure.
part of it and got kicked out or were like wrong some way. So
I
you
don't
have
know.
those people who were like betrayed by organization, so they're going to talk. Then the people who are in the organization who talked to him, they were like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about that." They were like, "Hey, can I pray for you? Let me pray for you." And they were like, the dude was literally like, "Hey, could we pray?" During the interview.
I'm sure there were certain things they told them not to talk about, but I'm sure they had to get the okay from the fellowship. Whether you were a member of the group or not, you got
They
kicked
didn't
out.
give up nothing.
You had to get certain okays. Well, maybe not. Obviously, if this thing was edited, we don't know exactly what all was said, but I'm sure they had to get the okay. Like, hey, they're going to interview me. Just to let you guys know, hey, well, don't talk about this or that. Don't say this. Cut this out. Don't ask me that question. Stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
But it definitely.
But I feel like the tenor got it. I feel like the point of the documentary made it across. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like when you have those disgruntled people who were betrayed by organization, they realize that it's a bunch of bullshit, that they don't actually believe what they say. Then you always have those people, right? And they come out and they be like, "Hey, this is what's really going on." And I feel like that's where most of the information came from. One, there was a guy who was in the organization when he was looking for his friend and ended up somehow mixed up in there. And then two, it was the people who were disgruntled and got betrayed and started leaking. I feel like that's the main source of that most of the info on here.
Yeah.
Like the people who were like within, like I said, we already talked about it. But yeah, they didn't really say anything. They were just like, nah, like we're good. Like we're trying to help people. We're just a bunch of Christians doing Christian stuff.
Yeah, I'm just out of curiosity. I know we've been going for 48 minutes on this thing. But,
I know.
According to this article, originally appeared on the TYT network. I Googled whether Elon Musk ever attended a national prayer breakfast. So there was a guy, David Beasley, who was a member, key figure in secretive right-wing Christian group, makes a pitch for Elon Musk money. So he asked Elon Musk to fund something that this group is working on. Tesla CEO Elon Musk tweeted that he sell Tesla stock right now and fund $6 billion worth of food and aid if the charity provided full transparency. So this guy, who was a member of Fellowship, David Beasley, asked Elon Musk to support the UN World Food Program, who also won a Nobel Peace Prize. But Elon Musk asked him for full transparency. Now we're going to talk about Elon Musk later on, but that's kind of a point, right? Elon Musk, would he really be willing to give $6 billion to fund a world food program? And then, like if they provided him full transparency, why would you take that? Like if you were really trying to, because you're right, it's not about doing the right thing. It's about business. It's about politics, and it's just weird. So, but I don't think Elon Musk has ever actually attended the national prayer breakfast. I don't see that. So,
I know Biden has.
But you know what? So reading further
Joe
on,
Biden and Kirsten Gillibrand definitely attended the most recent national prayer breakfast, and that's just like you guys know what's going on, but that's the issue, right? That's the problem. And we're wondering why Joe Biden suddenly can't get anything done on his agenda, right?
So there are ties from Musk to the family, right? So reading further in this article, just real quick, and also touch on the LGBT part you were talking about. But while assuring Musk of full transparency, Beasley didn't mention the role he has played outside the public eye as a leader inside the family, a purposely opaque organization with a history of smuggling evangelical Protestantism, including homophobia and misogyny, in charitable packages. The family also serves as a networking hub for right-wing activists working to roll back LGBTQ and reproductive rights. So that's just what you were talking about a few minutes ago. You know what I mean? So, the devout Christian organization, right, working to roll back LGBTQ rights. Yeah, that's about what they've been doing. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
any LGBTQ member would have been burned at the stake. 100 years ago, 200 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, these are these same people who are in the family. It's the same people. That's their progeny. Yeah, so there are
Yeah.
ties from Elon Musk to the family. This organization has far-reaching tentacles. I like I guess last thing on this for me, I like even the opening, how the tree was growing out of the Capitol building and you saw the roots going down and everything. I'm like, that's the perfect visual to say about this organization because I mean you have African presidents coming to the Cedars in Arlington, Virginia. What the hell are they doing there? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it's all mysterious. It's all mysterious.
Anyway, if you guys haven't seen this documentary, you should check it out. It's definitely eye opening, and you can learn a lot of stuff about how the government works and some of these people trying to influence it from non-democratic means. Also, another documentary we should check out. I think I told you about it, D, but it's on HBO Max. It's called Q Into the Storm. That is an amazing documentary. It's also about QAnon.
Oh, okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
Q Into the Storm. Spoiler: Q is currently running for Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like we know who Q is, and he's running for Congress right now.
He'll probably win it.
I don't know. He's not very charismatic, but anyway.
I don't think you have to be. I think it's all about relationships. Unless you're going to be pushed to the public eye like that, you don't have to be there. A lot of these guys seem like Doug Cole didn't seem. Well, no, he was pretty charismatic.
He was behind the scenes. He didn't want to be charismatic. He was just like,
what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess. What's next?
All right, guys. That's it for family. So recently I earlier today the Batman, the 2022 new movie starring the dude from Twilight, whose name I forgot. Robert Pattinson. Yes, and I don't know what you think, D. Like, where to start, man?
Okay, my overall rating for the movie, I typically trust IMDb, International Movie Database. I trust their ratings over something like Rotten Tomatoes because I've seen too many times where Rotten Tomatoes gave a movie a bad score that I liked, or they gave a movie a high score that I didn't think. Like IMDb, their score is usually more generally on par with what the movie is. And I think they gave this movie like an 8.5, 8.6. I thought they overscored it because
really
it was decent. I'll give this movie this. But my overall rating, I'd probably say it was a 7.5. Only because I'm an action junkie. This movie had action, but not a lot of it. It's an action movie, but there wasn't a lot of choreography to the action. Like they had chase scenes. It was engaging. The one thing I'll say for this Batman movie overall, it was different. It's definitely different. I give it high scores for that. I think that's why a lot of people liked it because it was a different type of Batman movie.
It was like a detective story.
Mm-hmm.
It was an actual detective story. He's going places, he's looking at clues. He's like, "Oh, what's this about? Oh,
right.
What does this mean? Oh, I found a clue here underneath." It was like a Sherlock Holmes. It kind of felt like
rubbing the joint, licking it, and shit, and taking the
dagger. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Damn. Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying?
So many times they had those scenes and he walked in the room and I was like, talk, dude. Like, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? Like he's just standing there breathing, staring around the room.
Nah, mine was working.
I like the score. But yeah, we don't know what your mind like. You gotta talk. You should have had like an AI computer or something that could narrate for us. We don't know what
speaking of that, the most outlandish thing. Oh, there was a couple outlandish things with this movie. First let me give my overall review too. Like I agree with you. It was kind of a good movie. It was a good like mystery detective movie, and it was a super good angle for Batman. I actually liked this Batman. This angle for Batman. That said, like bring back Batman vs Superman. Batman. Like bring back Batfleck, right? Bring back Man, I'm not gonna say this was a good Batman movie. Like Christian Bale's Batman was annoying, but I liked this Batman more than Christian Bale's Batman, but not as much as I liked the angry old gray-haired Batman from Batman vs Superman, right? I feel like he had a lot of depth to him, where this Batman, Patterson's Batman, he didn't really seem to have a lot of like depth, right? It was he was clearly tormented about his parents' like death, but aside from that, it was just like, were my parents good or bad?
Very,
They're
very
bad. Oh no, they were bad. What am I gonna do? Oh, spoilers, guys. They were bad. Oh, they were good. Then I'm still good, right? It's just like you're a
like,
little bit wishy-washy, bro. Like,
I don't
don't
think he
you?
was
Where's your
gonna.
deeper moral compass here? At the end of the movie, his conclusion was maybe people need something more to look at than just for vengeance, right? I'm like, yo, yeah, if you're gonna be a superhero, man, be a superhero. Like, help people, help people. Don't just beat up bad guys. You know what I'm saying? You good?
Hold on 1 second, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, don't just beat up bad guys. Be like, be charismatic, right? You ain't got to go out there shaking hands and whatnot, but do something that shows the people that, hey, you're here. You're not just fighting bad guys for fighting bad guys' sake. You're here fighting for the people. And I feel like that's what Pattinson, that's what that Batman was missing. He needed to give the people something to like stand out. My friend Frank, he was saying beforehand that he felt like this Batman was like a younger Batman, right? Which obviously, right, he is. He's a Batman who didn't have a lot of experience. He was a Batman that needed some refinement, right? And he doesn't have his full intellect down, right? Like he's solving riddles and stuff, but he's still missing like some of the bigger picture, or he's getting parts wrong, right? Making errors in his assessments. So by that angle, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, right? That Batman, this Robert Pattinson's Batman was definitely inexperienced. Um, that said, you got to be a better fighter than that, bro. Like you got to move better. Cause my biggest issue with the movie, Spammer got hit by every bullet that was shot. This nigga caught every bullet that was shot.
Him?
Every bullet. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, yeah, that was my main issue, right? Like,
I
bro,
thought that was some of the cooler parts when he was taking those bullets. I thought it was cool. Like he took a lot of gunfire up on the top at the very end. I guess the action scene,
Bro, he caught a shotgun blast to the chest at the end.
That was dope. It was cool.
That's not dope. Batman don't get shot. If he gets shot, he's like, and he goes fixes that joint and he comes back. He goes through the pain. This guy just got shot, and he's wearing metal Kevlar. I don't know what kind of bullet protection you can get hit by a shotgun and just be like, keep fighting. Like he got hit by they had machine guns in that hallway, and he got hit like 12 times. And he was like,
oh,
like, no, that's crazy. Batman is stealth. Batman is smart. He don't just walk through bullets.
Got shot. Christian, I hate to say it, but
once.
I think overall, the Batfleck was definitely the best Batman. His was the most interesting. Even as Bruce Wayne, he was the best because he just is charismatic, like you said.
Yeah, he was charismatic.
His Batman character was cool. I still don't like the costume. I wish the costume would be a little more like Christian Bale's. I think that Christian Bale had the best costume because they explained how the suit gave him added strength, the maneuverability, and the science behind his cape. And it's not just like he's like a bulletproof Kevlar suit like the Batman. Getting shot. There's a reasoning to why he's able to take these guys on. And I
don't know. I don't like Batman suits that look like armor. Like,
because am I supposed to believe? Am I supposed to believe that Batman can go up against the likes of Bane and Killer Croc in a rubber cowl. You know what I mean? Like he has to have kind of no. Maybe
He's a ninja, man. He's got skills. He trained with the League of Assassins, man. He's like
jumping off rooftops and taking hits to the face from semi superpowered beings. You know what I mean? Like he's not strong as man, but Killer Croc can punch through a concrete column. Like Batman has to be able to go toe to toe with him.
He knows how to take that punch. Batman knows how to. That's the thing. Batman is human. That's the thing. He has technology. He has armor. Of course, he has armor. I'm not saying he has to have a rubber suit, but the idea that he's like gonna walk up here with like looking like Tony Stark.
Oh no.
Unless you're flat on fighting like Superman, which is the only time I think that's reasonable, right? You don't need all that stuff, man, because you got experience, you got training, you got tech and skill, right? Like Killer Croc punch Batman, Bane punch Batman. You know what he does? He crumples around the punch.
No, you know what he does?
To lessen the impact. He's got technique.
The tech and the technique level out the playing field, though, right? Like there are certain times where he's going to have to muscle through and go toe to toe. You know, when he uses his smarts, and that's one good thing about Batman is because he can take down Bane. You know, and you're right. I don't want his suit looking like Tony Stark. Like I think that would be a little over the top. Like he still needs to be Batman, but just the tech levels out the playing field. And I hate to say it because Christian Bale. Yeah, he was annoying because his voice inside the costume. Where's the trigger on it? Tell the mask was squeezing his face. But
that was too snug.
He had some of the best Batman movies overall. It explained his tech.
Did, yes.
The action scenes were cool. The movies were a little drawn out. The Joker was cool. Batman Begins was cool.
Bane was cool.
I hated Bane. I hated it.
What?
Because I'm going off of like not that the actor was bad, but where's the Venom, man? Like he's got the mask. I'm thinking Bane is like, okay, he's gonna stick the Venom tubes in the back. He's gonna bulk up and shit. And he was cool. He was fine. The actor was cool, but
look. Joker didn't have a flower that squirted venom either. You know what I'm saying? So it was like they were a little bit different, right?
No, that was a lot of bit different with Bane. Okay, like we all know Bane. He turns on the venom. You know?
Yeah.
Like so I think
it would have been cool to see that. Yeah, you're right.
Christian Bale, Batman could have went toe to toe with the likes of a Venom under the influence of Venom. I don't know if Robert Pattinson could. I don't think he could go toe to toe with, and that's not even for a lack of his training. I think that's just they didn't explain anything about his tech. I guess they did explain a little bit about the technique, but like his suit and like this movie was so mopey and dour. And I'm like, is it always raining 24 hours in Gotham City? Is that the thing? It just rains,
100%.
Like
it's the tears of the lower class.
It was just certain things like he wasn't putting his detective, and I know he was new, but I hated how Gordon kept walking him into these crime scenes. I'm like, isn't Batman supposed to figure out a way to get in there?
Like, good point. Yes, that was one of my hangups.
He's
supposed to already be there, right? Like Batman's supposed to already be there. Like when he had to go see the Penguin, he was like, "I want to see the Penguin," and they were like, "Come out here." No, Batman was supposed to walk out of the shadows behind Penguin and be like, "Hey." That's how it was supposed to. That's Batman. Yeah. Not supposed to knock on the door.
Yeah, he rolled up in Gordon's squad car. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
bro. Like, he's supposed to be in there already.
Yeah, dude. Already be there.
I think he was probably the best villain. The Riddler was okay. I didn't mind the performance. I like the take on it. We always think about the goofy, zany Riddler with the question marks, and I thought this Riddler was cool.
He was fine.
Maniacal. Like
he wasn't over the top, which is good, right?
Yeah.
Like,
have you seen the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I love the universe they're kind of setting up because I can see this Batman. I have it on in the background. As a matter of fact, I can see this Batman inside that universe. Like I can see Joaquin Phoenix and this Riddler and this Batman like having a movie together. Like I would love to see a Joaquin Phoenix and Robert Pattinson Batman movie because they're kind of grounded in the same universe, in the same.
Are they though?
Reality. I think so.
That Gotham didn't feel like those Gothams did not look similar.
I was fine with Gotham. I didn't like Christian Bale's Gotham. I was like that looks like Chicago. Didn't they film it in like Canada or something or Chicago? Like
I mean, look, Gotham is any fill in the blank big city. Right. That's Gotham is any and every big city. There's no we don't even know where Gotham is on the map. We just know it's Gotham and then Metropolis, and then Emerald. What was it Emerald? Where the fuck Kyle Jordan is at? Right. On the West Coast, but like, yeah, it's just like it's supposed to be a stand-in for any large city with corruption.
And with the mopiness of this movie, like the whole tone, the mopey, the grayness, the rain, I think this could have been one of the best Gothams if they would have added a little more gothic feeling. The gargoyles, the statues. I think like the old Batman did some of the best jobs of setting up Gotham, right? Like I think it was George Clooney's Batman. They went to this like aquarium thing, with Poison Ivy in there, and like the statue was like holding this aquarium in the sky. You know what I mean? They're walking inside the circular building. Like I thought the architecture of Gotham, this could have if they'd made it a little more gothic, and because it would have fit the tone. One of the best characters in this entire movie, probably the Penguin. I had no idea that was Colin Farrell, man. That dude looked completely different.
That was Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell, bro.
Yo, that dude is an actor, man.
Yeah, dude. I was like, I would love to see
an actor.
I want to see him versus Batman. You know what I mean? But
Colin Farrell.
You know what's funny is I had to apologize to my son because I took him to the movies to see this, and I apologize. Me, I'm thinking Batman. Hey, it's a new Batman movie. Let's go check it out. And not that it was like rated over. They had a couple cuss words, and then it was fine. It wasn't crazy, anything like that. But there just wasn't a lot of action. It wasn't a lot of excitement throughout the movie. So I was like, yeah, my bad, bro. I could have came to see this by myself. I still would have went and saw it, but I know for him, he was definitely bored during the movie. Like, there's just some moments. I love the music. I like the score. The score reminded me of the Joker movie. That deep, monotone bass instruments, and Batman's walking through, and boom, like the background music hits, and yeah, it reminded me of the Joker movie, man. It was cool.
Yeah, there was definitely some cool spots. Like, like at the beginning, when he came out the shadows, when the guy was getting jumped in the subway. That was a cool scene. That was the best scenes.
I thought
he just walked out the shadows like boom, 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 and he just came out the shadows. That was dope. Yeah, that's good.
Shit out of that dude.
But he got shot like 12 times in that fight. I'm sorry, you got shot too many times.
We saw that scene in the trailer. That was when he beat down. It was like, I'm vengeance. We saw that scene, and also man, his shot gauntlet. Why the hell didn't he use that more, man?
Right.
That's a form of technology leveling the playing field, right? Like Batman can't punch Superman, but he has explosives. He can slow him down. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Use of your surroundings. And we saw that shot gauntlet one time. That's the only time he used that shit. Like, where's
true?
Just shot gauntlet, man. What else?
Yeah, use that joint way more often. You could have ended a lot of fights a lot quicker.
I definitely expected.
If he just shot them in the face. You tase him in the face when you punch him.
I expected Bruce Wayne to have better gear.
Real talk, that contact lens thing was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like why don't
that's like how do you do that? How do you get a camera in somebody's eyeball?
I like the concept because he got it on Catwoman and got her into the club. That was cool. I like Catwoman.
Yeah, it was cool as shit. But it's like this technology is not like congruent, man. Like one, you got armor. His armor, he can get shot 100 times. No issue. Like that joke must be made of vibranium or something, man. I'm sorry, he got shot way too many times. That joke, there's no impact damage. You know how fast a bullet goes? He got shot too many times.
Hey,
you know how fast a bullet goes?
It was rocking his body. That shit was tight because he ate it.
You're like, no. You don't get shot by a bullet. Ain't this? It's like you are flying, especially as many times as he got. He got a shotgun to the chest. He flew back on that one at the end.
Yeah,
he did fly back on that jump. But that's the thing. Batman wouldn't have caught that jump. You know why? Because he'd have already known that guy was going to pull something, and he'd have had it set up.
He'd have disabled him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
there's no like, shotgun. Like Batman would be like, you should just.
Like you said, he's an inexperienced version of Batman. He doesn't quite have his techniques down.
Yeah, that's true.
And did you like the Batmobile?
I didn't. It was just a what was it? A Mustang? I don't know. It was just a car.
Yeah, like a Challenger or something, old school.
Yeah, I didn't care. It was irrelevant.
Christian Bale probably has the best Batmobile. That shit was a fucking tank, man. That joint was tight, and that's that don't have the bat motorcycle, what they call the bat bike that dropped out of it and all that shit, and like the other way.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like, and
that was cool.
They actually showed the bat wing in Christian Bale's joint. Man, that was tight. You know, Batfleck, his Batmobile.
I'm trying to remember what that joke looked like. I actually don't remember.
Yeah, Christian Bale. So Batflex was more like flat. I wish I could pull pictures and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think Christian Bale probably had the best one. Probably had the best Batmobile. I mean, that shit was a fucking tank, man. Like, you know, just the ways it was roof jumping, and they explained the technology behind the Batmobile. It was a all-terrain experimental vehicle, and you know, I just liked the way they gave credence to, like, you know, even in Batman Begins, Christian Bale, how they showed what his suit was made out of: fiber, micro Kevlar weaving, and all this, and
yeah,
batarangs came from the grapple gun, how you add an electrical current through the fabric of his cape, and it stiffens to make him be able to seemingly glide or float down. So that explains how he can climb up high on tall buildings and, you know, jump down. And I just like the explanations they gave it. How is he able to do all these things? That being said, though, with Christian Bale, it was almost a little bit too grounded in reality, which is why I appreciate Batflex, because it was over the top kind of superhero-y. That's what I want my Batman. I like when Ben Affleck is jumping around, kicking people's ass, kicking parademons' asses on rooftops and shooting alien guns with the Flash and all this. You know,
this is the Batmobile from Affleck's. That doesn't really look like a Batmobile at all. It looks cool though. Is it?
Oh yeah. You know what? I would I think Christian Bale.
Hot Wheels.
All I remember is Superman fucking that joint up, like coming around the corner. That shit was nothing. Bouncing off my aisle.
Yeah, this jump.
That joint was a goddamn tank, bro.
It's just definitely a goddamn tank, man.
It's crazy.
100%.
I remember that joint's dope. They in the Batmobile. Yeah, the joint dropped out. I just love how they explain the technology. You're right though, Christian. I like Christian Bale's performance as Bruce Wayne because he was charismatic, and you can't get away from classic Batmobiles.
Yeah, the classic Jones. This Jones, which one? This is Batman Forever, right? Or this one's Batman Forever.
I know
this was the one with Clooney, I think.
Yeah, that's Batman Returns because he put the shit. Remember, he was like shield, and all the clowns started shooting at the shields on his card.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a bigger picture of this jump. That's old school jump.
I'd take it, but that's the first.
This was always cool. This is a classic.
How the hell would you see over that damn thing? It's just impossible. Huh? The original Batmobile or the one with Michael Keaton. Like, how would you even see over the hood? Like, that shit was ridiculously long.
I know, right? It definitely comes up.
Like, compared to Christian Bale's, man, he just had the best one. Like, it looked like a monster. If that thing was chasing you, you're scared. Like,
100% horrified. Because it's going to run you over.
Yeah, that's just gonna. I could totally see that joke running down
this shit.
Top of it.
This joke belongs in Iraq, man.
That joke just looks like a monster, man. But yeah, the Batman 2022, it was cool. I just wish they had a little more. It had action, but I wish they had a little more choreographed fight scenes. That beginning scene where he walked out and beat down the clown at the very beginning, I'm vengeance. From that scene, I'm thinking, man, this is going to be John Wick style choreographed Batman. Like, we'll see a little more hand to hand, combat. And I'm always a mark for that stuff, man. Like, I was telling my boy the other day at work, one of the first movies, they always give you credit for putting me on anime and kung fu movies like that. One of the first movies you let me borrow was Legend of the Drunken Master with Jackie Chan. And I love with the choreography of everything. You know what I mean? Like, I just like the choreography. It's just a beauty to it. So whenever I can get that type of,
right,
action, like it, you know what I mean? But
yeah, you're right, man. Like, real talk, I feel like a lot of movies have been kind of like letting people like slouching on that kind of like not like it's like a side by side fight, but you know, like they love doing the shaky cam now. The shaky cam for me ruins a lot of fights.
It does.
And
I think a lot of that is
I feel
probably
like
like,
yeah, just get some focus in it, put some technique in it. Like one of the issues with the Cowboy Bebop move or show they had was like you could tell the choreography they wanted to do some good choreography, but it was too robotic. So people need to stop slouching on the choreography. You're gonna ruin your movies like that.
I think
Like
a lot of
James
people,
Bond was just shaky cam the whole time.
I think a lot of that's just like you know, camera techniques, movie techniques to protect the actors. Maybe they're not that good at choreographed scenes, and they need the shaky cam to hide certain things. Maybe they're up to schedule, and who knows. But yeah, you always gotta appreciate non-shaky cam, bro. Like you're taking me out of
Yeah,
the moment. That's why movies like John Wick, and I don't mind a little shaky cam, but
a little bit's fine. Yeah,
that's why movies like John Wick, and even the Christian Bale Batman. I keep going back to those. I like the choreography in those. A lot of those fight scenes
mm-hmm.
were. I mean, when he's fighting Bane at the end, I thought it was too short. You know,
It was a good fight though.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I liked it when Bane beat his ass with Cat
Under in that on the place.
I like that fight though. It was hand to hand, you know, a little bit of shaky cam, but yeah, I mean, they just didn't have a lot of action in it. And
Well, this was definitely a mystery movie, which is like I appreciate that because Batman first and foremost was supposed to be a detective, right? So they definitely pulled out the whole Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot like detective vibe where he's in that joint, he's looking at a room and he's seeing things nobody else is seeing, right? He's analyzing, he's like the way he saw the riddles quick, right? Like just the way you could tell Batman has a mind that's better than the rest. Which is why I shouldn't have got shot so many times, man. Because his mind, he should already be seeing people's movements. He should be knowing, right? There's no reason should be shot that many times. But still, like it was
hey,
definitely a mystery movie.
why did
Huh?
him getting shot take you out of the moment so much?
Look,
I thought it was
Batman
cool.
don't get shot a lot.
Nah,
He
don't.
does get shot. He does get shot. I'm not saying, but this Batman got shot almost every time.
That dude ate a whole clip from like an AK, man. Just ate that joint too. I thought it was cool.
Like, and he's like, come on, man.
Yeah, I was
He
dope.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't like it. To me, it was like I watched Batman to see him like out fight people, right? And he was fighting people, and I know they got guns, but you're breaking you're making it too realistic. I don't expect Batman to be realistic because he's just a dude. Like the same way you can't record video through contact lenses is the same way you're not gonna get shot without feeling that jump, man. Like, so don't go too far away. Like, just have him not get shot.
Yeah.
Let him dodge that jump. Let him he's not gonna dodge a bullet, but he's gonna be there before they fire, right?
Ben Affleck and Batman vs Superman at the perfect. That's what Batman would do, right? He'd throw a device that would attach itself to your gun and disable it. Right? He wouldn't just let the whole clips at him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Technology to level the playing field, and like, yeah, he disarmed people. Robert Pattinson disarmed people in this movie after he got shot. Like, damn, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Pointed at you, like, take that motherfucker out, chop him down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you already know they got guns, so act accordingly.
Yeah, it was cool.
This Batman just rolled up and like, I know I'm gonna get shot.
It was definitely like a Grisham suspense thriller, you know, and that's why I said it was different. I think that's what people appreciated about it. I just would like a little more superhero-ness to my Batman. You know, it's kind of the same issue I had with Christian Bale's Batman. Like, it may be a little too grounded in reality for me. Like, you know, all the old school Batman and Robin and all that with Arnold Schwarzenegger, those were over the top.
Those are cartoons.
Bale brought it back down to reality. Just still a little grounded. Ben Affleck was perfect because it was right there in between. Like, because he was rubbing shoulders with Superman and Wonder Woman, it gave you the fantastical superhero, but it also brought it back down to the guy in the suit. what Batman is, and he has his technology. Batman used what he had to disable the dome that was over the city in Justice League, right? Like,
also size, right? Like Batman's kind of physically has to be like he has to be a specimen physically, right?
the thing is always
Pattinson was not, dude. The dude still looked lanky.
how
He
he
looked
got.
lanky as hell.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. How did he get this role? What made them think? Because
It sure shit wasn't his acting skills.
and they didn't give him anything to work with in it. I don't think the script called for him to actually
Yeah,
act.
true.
You know what I mean? Like he
He
did.
just had to keep a straight face
I'm at this scene right now in the movie where him and Gordon are going over this
and
wall
get
at
shot.
Riddler. And remember, he didn't figure out what the carpet tool was used for yet. So they're at this
Mhm.
wall. They're looking at this big mural of pictures and everything. And like, he's not saying anything. And then he does that multiple times in the movie where he comes into a scene and he's figuring out what's going on. And he just stares around and breathes. And I'm like, okay, we need some dialogue so the audience can understand what he's thinking right now.
I
Like
didn't mind that too much though. Like
perfect, because he would go into like a lens mode and then he
Mhm.
zoomed in on certain things. Oh, there's a drop of blood here, fingerprints lead over here. Like so. You need some kind of narration, and plus, like his dour mopiness didn't help with all that because when he would talk, he'd be like, "Something over there. This TV is still hot. They were watching Channel 5 News." It was like there was nothing about him when he did talk, and it was just like, dude, what the fuck?
Said his TV's so hot.
Yeah, this TV. I did appreciate the detective part because he was figuring things out. But
Yeah.
the only thing he used to figure things out was, like you said, the contact lenses. Like there was nothing else,
I didn't mind the silent Joe. Like with him, like just thinking as long as. But you're right. Like his lines afterwards definitely needed some work after he figured it out. You gotta say something cool. Don't just be like, "There's a bat in this is not a bat," or it was "This is not a rat," or some shit in this cage. Like look when he got into the bat in the cage, it was just like, well, say something cooler.
Yeah,
or like do something else.
And I appreciated the Riddler. I thought he was crazy enough to be the Riddler, right? But I have to take issue with his riddle. I wasn't impressed by the riddles. I thought Jim Carrey had way better riddles, and like the riddles weren't like
I solved like 3 of them, just like real talk.
not very clever. You know what I mean? They're not very what we think the Riddler's riddles are. Like that, the Riddler is an intellectual. I didn't get that overly intellectual vibe from this Riddler. I thought he just was a serial killer who killed guys with a carpet tool. He beat you over the head with a carpet tool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and did a couple of riddles, but like, yeah, they weren't like really like. You're right. The ones from Batman, what was it Batman Forever? Those are actually really good riddles, man.
Even the video game.
And his presentation, yeah, like there was all so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
even
this Riddler
game with the Batmobile. Did you solve all those riddles? That Batman was the Arkham Knight.
No, I didn't solve them.
It was like 330 riddles.
Yeah, that was way too many, man. Like I did as many as I could, but I was like, I beat the game. Well, I'm not gonna keep playing the joint to figure out 197 riddles. Like, no, I'm good. I got other shit to do.
That riddle was cool though. I like that. It was over the same, all that stuff, which I appreciate. They didn't do the zaniness for this Riddler, but he was just a serial killer. He was almost a little bit too close to the Joker. Like he wasn't Riddler enough.
He's a little too physical too. Like Riddler is definitely not really known as being a physical guy. He was like, beating people over the head and like
savagely.
Yeah, he could have been. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could have been just Joker.
Like he didn't have to be the Riddler with the question mark cane, but just a little bit more cleverness to his traps, and that's what the Riddler is. He's clever. He's a genius.
But then again, Batman wasn't getting them all, man. He was slipping up, man. That the whole El Rata, whatever, and it was like, no, it was La Rata. It was like, what? Oh shit! Like that just completely threw them off. And then they were trying to figure out the whole time. Wait, what has wings? It was like so far. A penguin had wings. A bat had wings. Falcon had wings. It was just like everything had wings. Like pigeons had wings. Chickens got wings. They were just like everything's got wings. It's everywhere. They didn't know what they were doing for like a good 20 minutes.
That's the guy we haven't touched on, Falcone, right? Like I do like the angle of them taking Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, and him
Mhm.
not being so clean cut. They did the same thing in the Joker. Remember, the Joker thought Thomas Wayne was his dad. Oh, spoilers for the Joker. Sorry, guys. Thought Thomas Wayne was his dad,
2
and
years
Thomas
ago.
Wayne hit him in the face, keep my fucking family's name out your mouth or some shit, you know. And like in this movie where Bruce Wayne had dealings with Falcone, and he, you know, like maybe he wasn't so squeaky clean. You know, they do that with Tony Stark's dad a lot too. Like he's just squeaky clean and all this. It's like I'm sure he's got some dirt in his closet somewhere. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like he always seemed clean and like he did the right thing and all this. You know, I like that part. I like that part. Falcone, I didn't mind him. He was pretty cool. Falcone, how do you say Falcone? Falcone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Falcone.
Yeah, I didn't mind him that much. He was cool. Overall, it was a good movie. It's definitely
What about
worth a watch.
Catwoman?
I liked her. I thought she was
Yeah,
cool,
she was alright.
charismatic. You know, she held my attention when she was there. It wasn't. She was definitely way more interesting than Batman.
Then Batman, hell yeah, she definitely had better lines than him too.
And I like her mask. You know, like a little ski mask. Like I like the.
Oh, I hated that. I thought that was weird.
The design was a different movie. It wasn't over the top. Everything was based in reality, right? Like,
Yeah,
there was no. It was just
like no streamlined single fitted unitard. Like,
yeah, with the metal Catwoman claws. I actually have to kind of miss those. You should have had those. You are a Catwoman.
She had long nails, which I guess is fine.
Like regular nails and shit.
Yeah, she was like long nails, but like she didn't have a whip or anything, right? Like,
cool.
no whip, no tail, no like. It was cool though. She could fight. So
Yeah,
cool too.
She's definitely way more interesting than Batman. I don't think they gave him a lot to work with in the script. If they did, he would have did it. I'm sure Robert Pattinson.
You think they're gonna do a sequel?
Oh, I'm almost certain they are. They made a lot of money off this movie. I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
See how much this movie grossed so far.
Super nervous about this whole joke. You saw the Joker thing at the end, right?
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
bring it
super
in.
nervous.
The Joker fits into this movie, and I think that's why they did it. I think because of the success of the Joker, they probably went this route with the Batman. But because I can totally see Joaquin Phoenix slotting right.
They're not bringing Joaquin Phoenix in this zone. I don't think so.
I think they should. Or even I didn't mind the Suicide Squad Joker. I didn't mind Jared Leto. I thought he was fine. Like this pimped out Joker with a gold chain tatted up, but he's still crazy. You know what I mean? Like I didn't mind it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't mind that one either. As long as he was, yeah. I don't know. I'm just nervous because Joker's got issues because you gotta go. Well, first, if they bring in a new Joker, and it's not Joaquin Phoenix, it has to live up to both his Joker and Heath Ledger's Joker. Like, I don't know if they can do that a third time, man. I'm nervous, man. Like, hold off. There's other villains. Get Clayface in this bitch. Like,
I hate that Jared Leto gets cut out of that conversation. He wasn't the best Joker because he didn't have a long movie to do anything in.
They should have gave him, right? They should have done a Batman and a Jared Leto Joker with Affleck and Leto and let that happen.
The same way I appreciate the differentness of this Batman, I appreciate the differentness of Jared Leto's Joker. It was different. It was a different take on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best thing I can say about this movie is that it was different. You know, it wasn't your typical Batman movie that we've seen up to this point. It was truly a suspense thriller that had action in it. You know, wasn't a ton of action, but it was cool. So the
reminded me of Hush.
Worldwide, this movie has grossed $760,363,378. This is according to Box Office Mojo. 368 million domestic, 391 million international, so about the same. I think a lot of movies also have the benefit of dropping at the right time, right? This movie came out, there's nothing else to see. The Marvel's not really blowing up like that. I know Doctor Strange comes out next week. Yeah, Doctor Strange comes out next Friday.
Wow,
so,
I didn't know that.
Nothing's really happening in Marvel. Like, and plus it's kind of changed because of COVID the last couple years, and everything's streaming now, so it's hard to get the numbers. And the Batman's already on HBO. You remember before COVID, the Batman would still be in the movies. You know.
Yep, that's the only reason I was able to see it because I wasn't going to the theater to watch this.
Oh, I definitely wanted to go to the theater. Yeah, I definitely wanted to go.
I would have, but like just time.
But yeah, almost $1 billion gross. Yeah, they're gonna make a sequel. I think so. They released it onto home streaming already, and it still made almost $1 billion. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I wouldn't mind seeing a Joaquin Phoenix led version of this Batman. Just my personal preference would just be to splash a little more choreographed action in there. I'm an action junkie. I like my superhero movies to do cool superhero type shit, and I want him to do. But I guess that's not the point of this movie. It was supposed to be a reality kind of grounded based take on Batman.
And don't
Detective.
get shot so much.
Right? Yeah, you're right. Then why the hell is he getting shot?
Bring that down.
He definitely ate that clip. That was cool. I didn't mind it. I thought he just the way he ate it. It was just a cool thing. But, oh shit, he ate that.
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a good movie overall. I give it a I give it about a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
Like, I ain't knocked my socks off, right? It wasn't nothing to rant and rave about, but it was still an entertaining movie, and I enjoyed a lot of the new elements
I'm shocked
that they brought into it.
Got the kind of praise it got. The only reason I can say is maybe just because it was so different, because it wasn't exciting. This was not an exciting movie. You didn't leave the movie. There was not a moment in this movie where I stood and was like, "Oh my god,"
Nope, not even one.
Maybe when he got shot.
When he got shot by the shotgun and flew back, yes. I was like, "Oh my god, why?"
Even at the end, the whole point was not to beat down the problem physically, but maybe the way he was helping the people at the end after the whole thing went down, which a lot of those people should have drowned. Like what?
Yeah, but did he? Like, how many people did he help? Because he failed. He failed.
Like, he was helping a lady on the helicopter, and so maybe he's supposed to be like a beacon of hope.
We watched a Batman that failed at being Batman.
Hey, it's his first time out, dog.
Yeah, it's not his first time out, but this was probably his first big villain. Because when the guy called out Batman, he was like, "What are you calling me out for?" Like, I'm just doing my thing. What? why you fucking with me? Yeah, but yeah, pretty much. But okay, fine. But I guess you don't win the first go around easily.
Still a good movie overall. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Like you said, didn't knock my socks off, but I'd watch it again. Maybe 1 or 2 more times, and then you'll never need to watch it again. It's nothing very memorable about the movie. There's no particular scene that kind of really sticks with you, and you're like, wow, that was just a great sequence. Like the chase scene with the penguin. It's pretty average. The end of the movie, there's not even a standout. Remember Batman vs Superman? A lot of people. Now that movie, I'll give you credit, Juice, because I remember we did a review, and you said that movie is better than a lot of people think. And when I watched it a couple more times, I was like, okay, it was a little slow, but it was better, and it was cool. And I like that. Yeah, I thought it was dope. It wasn't a bad movie at all. I think the hype got to me at that time. But yeah, I mean, forgot where I was going with that, but anyway, yeah, it was cool. I mean, so that okay. In that movie, I know where I was going with that. When he went and saved Superman's mom, he said Martha's mom. That scene sticks with you because that was a cool ass scene where he kicked all them dudes in the warehouse ass. You're like, yo, that Batman fight scene was crazy. Like, even the scene with the flashback where he went out and it's like, man, did you see Zack Snyder's Justice League?
The uncut junk?
Yeah.
Or no, I haven't watched it yet.
You gotta watch it. It's like 4 hours. It's almost like a different movie. Because I mean,
I heard, man.
They used totally different camera shots. I'm like, why would he cut this scene out? That scene was cool as shit. Why would you? I mean, obviously you can't come out with a 4-hour movie, but that movie was way better than the original.
If it's good,
yeah. I mean,
they should have broken it into 2 parts.
The music was more dramatic. Like the ending scene, like they showed Darkseid. Darkseid looked like a fucking forget Thanos stuff. Like Darkseid looked menacing.
Wait, we didn't see Darkseid in the original John, did we?
Yeah, they referenced him, but that's what I'm saying. Why would you cut that out? Like, that scene was bad. They stared at the.
I definitely need to watch it.
They're staring down Darkseid through a portal. They're staring him down. Like he uses the Omega beams in the movie. I'm like, why would you cut this scene out? That's ridiculous.
What?
But
what the
hell? In Batman vs Superman, where they had that post-apocalyptic scene where it looks like Darkseid took over the Earth and Batman there with the goggles. I want to see that movie. Like, show me that movie. Yeah. A post-apocalyptic Batman teamed up with the Joker. And so there's a scene, spoiler alert, at the end of Zack Snyder, where like they have a scene in that post-apocalypse, and like Batman's there with other people. And you're like, damn, they teamed up. They got to take down Superman. Superman's like a dictator, like the game Injustice. Like
yeah, he's Injustice,
and he lands there and like looks up at everybody like with the glowing eyes. Like, hey, you gotta see that, man. I want to see this movie. Like, show me this movie, man. That's the perfect type of Batman movie, man. Dope.
Yeah, they fucked up.
There's no scene in the Batman that sticks with you like that.
And I'm like, I'm distressed because like Henry Cavill, he's done with Superman, right?
What are we doing? Come on.
I know you guys have we had a good Superman, like it was great. Like we had a good Batman. Wonder Woman is fine. Flash, well, that dude is in trouble. Ezra Miller.
Already beat somebody up or something, or
it's just drunken dumb stuff. Yeah, he like got in a fight or something. Or he was like harassing him, like tried to choke somebody because he was drunk as hell. Anyway, Cyborg was cool, man. Like Aquaman was cool. You had the bearded Aquaman. It was a good shit, man. What happened? How did they fuck that up?
During that time, they were dealing with a lot of the Marvel stress, trying to like compete with them. So every movie that they came out with was compared to a Marvel movie.
Remember they dropped Shazam and just forgot.
Mm-hmm. And it was crazy too because like the Marvel movies, a lot of that was carried by the charisma of Robert Downey Jr. and the guy who played Captain America. I forget his name.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Chris Evans.
Anyway. So just do your own thing. Don't worry about competing over here. Like, and I think that's what made them change course a lot and do all these issues. That's what led to the souring of the relationship between Henry Cavill and the executives and Ben Affleck and the executives. You know what I mean? Like they made all these changes that the actors didn't like, and they were like, "Man, screw these projects. Like, let's move on." But now, post COVID, there's no Marvel's not popping like that. Now is where you need Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, right? Like you do your own style of movie. Okay, Juice, look, I'm at the scene where he got shot on the. You remember he's in the ramparts at the end, shooting all the guys, and he's dropping them off the stage.
Yes, I remember.
That was a cool action little scene.
It was until
he's using the back cable to go around the dudes and jump from beam to beam. Oh, this is where he gets shot. Hey, he ate it, dude. He ate it. And then the gun jammed. I think he got shot by something. The gun jammed and he ran and tackled the dude.
Mm-hmm. That's not it though.
So
he hits that dude and he falls to the ground and he turns around and hits him with a shot. God damn.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Movie overall.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Not for everybody, but
maybe the next one they'll flesh out more. Like they'll bring in a character where he can actually like get physical with, and yeah, and if maybe like a Bronze Tiger or some shit.
If you're any kind of a superhero mark where you enjoy Marvel, DC films, action, superhero movies, this is a must see because it's part of the cinematography of Batman. You know what I mean? It's a Batman movie. Yeah. You gotta see it. Like, there's no way around it.
And I'm glad they understand that like nobody needs to rehash like the Batman origin story. We don't need to do that no more.
Right. That's what's smart about Marvel and Spider-Man. They did that when they brought in the young Spider-Man. They didn't even touch on his parents. He just jumped right into Spider-Man in Civil War.
Yep.
Marvel was so smart back then, man. If I'm DC and it is the executives DC, I'm trying to get some of these Marvel Disney people over because they know how to run the ship and think about the long term. That's what the success of DC was. I think they played off the nostalgia of the older generations and the comic books because they came out with these movies in like a comic book series style, right? Where like you were seeing these movies develop over 10, 11, 12. Oh, that's the shotgun part. Yeah, he ate that joint. Hey, the dude was laying on the ground and caught him almost point blank in the chest.
Yeah.
That was cool. He ate it,
He didn't fly back?
He did. Oh, he's hanging off the thing. He flew back.
Yeah, he's definitely like, that's not eating it.
Well, he still kicked it. You know what I'm saying? He ate it. He's not like... Yeah, he still had the strength to hang on to the rampart and dangle there.
Yeah, Catwoman came to save him.
Just shoot him right now, point blank. He's hanging by one hand. Just shoot him. Whatever. Yeah, man.
Hey.
So, we talking about Musk. Want to squeeze Musk in?
Yeah, sure.
Hour and 40, man. We could do Musk in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not much to say, honestly. In all honesty.
I
All
want to
right.
like Elon Musk.
Huh?
I said I want to like Elon Musk, but he's a billionaire. You know how their mentalities can be. Did you see the Joe Rogan interview?
Yeah, I watched it back then.
Yeah, I watched that. I listened to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he seems intelligent. Definitely don't get to that level without being intelligent. Somewhat.
Yeah. I mean,
He doesn't seem pompous and a
he's
jerk.
not stupid.
Yeah,
He's definitely a businessman, but he's definitely a con artist too.
I would
The
say so.
whole
You know about
Twitter pump. I mean, not Twitter. The whole Bitcoin, Dogecoin pump and dump, man. Like, I don't know how that's not illegal. He hypes up. He hypes up a Bitcoin and then
stock.
sells all the stock. And just sells it all, and then watches that crash.
That's just
Like that's
how the market is manipulated.
well, the market's supposed to be regulated, but not Bitcoin.
If he is doing that, he's not the only one. That's just how the shit works.
No.
Hype the price of something, you sell all your shares, the price comes down. You know what I mean? That's how you manipulate markets.
The thing is, like in the regular market, it's illegal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Bitcoin's not regulated like that. Like if the stock goes up, it's supposed to go up naturally, right?
Well, that's another topic too. Is the push of Bitcoin. Digital currency. Like, where are we going with this? Where is this money coming from? Like what's backing this money? That's where I guess that'd be for another topic.
The blockchain, dude. There's a documentary. It's on YouTube. It's called "The Line Goes Up." It's actually over my head. I don't get a lot of it, but I do grasp the notion that this is a highly complex, digitally focused tech brain scam. Like, I think that's about. Ultimately, it's over my head. I got too much to do with it. I'm not going to invest in Bitcoin, But I mean, for people who do, good luck. Just like make sure just make sure you're on the winning side of that investment, because there's been a number of there's a couple of documentaries. We actually just watched one recently about Bitcoin where that's on Netflix, that a guy had a Bitcoin company. Well, he wasn't selling Bitcoin. He was selling a conversion part of it. Anyway, this guy, it feels like he essentially faked his death and ran off with all of the money. It's a scam, dude. Mm-hmm. But anyway, back to Twitter and Musk, I guess.
Yeah, I want to believe Elon Musk is a good guy because, speaking of that Joe Rogan podcast, he was talking about the need to switch to sustainable, clean energy and how much pushback there is. And you want to believe that. You want to believe that's why he came out with Tesla and, but so he's buying Twitter and he's talking about freedom of speech, right? I want to believe that somebody brought up a good point. I think Boyce Watkins brought up a good point about this whole thing. Him in China. And I think Twitter is banned in China, right? Am I mistaken? Right? So batteries for his cars in Tesla are made in China, right? So aren't there going to be corporate, aren't there going to be a conflict of interest here? You know what I mean? If you're buying Twitter to expand the freedom of speech, and that freedom of speech would affect your dealings with the company who supplies you in China, right? Are you really going to be able to say whatever you want to say on Twitter? Is you really going to buy it and transform the platform the way that you say that you're going to do? I still don't think you're going to be able to say whatever you want to say.
No, of course not. Well, that's the thing. So I don't know. You didn't watch there's the documentary I was just telling you about, Q Into the Storm. There's a whole section on it about 8chan. And I don't know if you know about the Chans, those websites. You have 4chan, 8chan, Akun, stuff like that. So the issue with 8chan was it was popular, but it was one of those completely unregulated freedom of speech servers. And you can't make money when people are truly absolutely saying any and everything. And not even just saying, but posting, right? because you have assholes out there who are terrible people, and they do things and say things which are repugnant to a vast majority of others, right? And when you have channels like that with unrestrained freedom of speech, they flood those channels because there's no terms of service. There's nobody telling them that they can't, so they do, and it becomes a cesspool of bad stuff. And if you so my issue is like if Elon Musk really wanted to do Twitter like that and just completely remove all of that, it's going to be nothing but hate speech and harassment, right? And death threats. I mean, it's already bad enough as it is. Twitter's not a great place. I don't use it very often.
A lot of that stuff is already there on
Yeah,
social media.
yeah. But there's also terms of service where you can get banned for stuff like that. Remove the TOS for stuff like that, and it just stays and it proliferates.
But see, it's nuanced.
Volume went down.
If I can't say whatever I want to say, especially over something that's supposed to be an open platform like the internet, isn't that the whole essence of freedom of speech? Like, isn't that the whole point of behind a protest? Like, when people get together and protest police brutality, don't we have the right to freedom of speech to say what we want to say? So, like, your right might not be my right, and your wrong might not be my wrong, right? Like, so to a racist, white guy, a neo-Klansman or something, his hate speech, I might hate it. Hey, man, that's not right. You shouldn't say that, but he don't hate it. That's his freedom of speech. My speech to speak to come together, and we should all work together. He may hate that, but that it might be what I like. So it's nuanced, man. It's like, yeah, we know what's good and what's bad as far as cesspools of ideas coming together.
Well,
but
there's still stuff like there's no such thing as absolute freedom of speech. That's just not real. Like I heard what you're saying about what some people might not like about what you say or what you might not like what they say. But that's different when it comes to stuff like making threats, right?
mhm.
And when it comes to things like that, those are threats to bodily injury. Like those are fundamentally illegal. Bribery, like those are just you could say it, you could do all those things, make those offers. But bribery is generally illegal, right? Just I guess depending on where it is. Those is like absolute freedom of speech is just not a thing. You have to have laws in place. I know they always talk about the whole example of like yelling fire in a crowded like movie theater. Like if you do something like that, I've heard debates on whether or not that's actually illegal. I can't remember what the argument was, but anyway, something like that can lead to a very dangerous situation, especially when it's something that's unwarranted, right? And yeah, so when it comes to stuff like that, like there has to be some kind of consequence. You can't just do something like that to cause a panic.
Right. I'm looking at this article here. It's on theweek.com. I should have posted it. See, I be on my cell phone one and using the computer for the laptop. But so Elon Musk wants to buy Twitter. It's set to buy Twitter for $44 billion. God damn, bro. That price tag is astronomical, man. When these people first came out with Twitter, did they ever imagine in their wildest dreams that they will one day sell this thing the whopping price of $44 billion, dude? I'm selling that shit quick if I'm them, man. Like, I know the potential, but look at other platforms like Black Planet and anything. These platforms can die. You know what I mean? Like Twitter might not be. I mean, even if there's a Facebook.
Even Facebook.
Yeah. These platforms. So if I'm the people owning Twitter, I'm selling the shit out of this thing, man. Like, are you serious? You want about $44 billion? I could be set for the rest of my life, but just by selling this thing to you. So yeah, I mean,
well, remember the people who are in that joint on the board or Twitter already
right.
set for life.
Yeah,
but yes, more money.
Not a driving factor to them. So there's a pro and con list for Elon Musk and his ownership of Twitter, according to theweek.com. So one pro, inclusive membership. Musk said that he wants to create a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive. So okay, it's like now I would trust what Elon Musk says more than I would trust like what Joe Biden says, right? Because Joe Biden's a politician, and it's kind of like an open secret that politicians have to not outright lie a lot of all the time, but they have to manipulate things to say the way they say they want certain results. Elon Musk being a businessman, entrepreneur, he hasn't fucked up yet, to me.
What?
So until I hear him lie openly and he gets caught,
He's lied openly. He just lies all the time, man.
a lot of that's just protecting his business interest. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
he
so,
said he was. He said he was going to donate a shit ton of money to Ukraine, like a couple. What was it, like $6 million, something like that. He said he's going to donate to Ukraine through this like open charity fund. He never did that jump. He donated.
I thought
He
he said
donated us
transparency if he and I thought they weren't willing to give him transparency on where the money was going. So I heard that. I was reading up on an article on something, and they said that he was going to donate, but he wanted to know where the money was going, something, and they couldn't.
He ain't do it. I mean, dude, we got $6 million. Like you just blew 44 billion. If you're gonna do it, then do it. Don't say you're gonna do it in a lot. Also, I just told you about the whole Dogecoin stock thing. Like he definitely inflated the Bitcoin price for that the value.
That's just the way they
dumped it.
That's just the
way. That's maybe, but that's 100% dishonest.
That's deceitful. Yes. But that's the way the game is played. Participating in the game. He's a player.
You know? I guess, but if you trust that kind of person, then I don't know. Like, I don't think that person deserves trust.
I don't trust Elon Musk. I don't know this motherfucker. But until he, at least as he says, he wants to buy it to be broadly inclusive, right? So if that's what he says he's going to do, until he doesn't do that, I have to say he's going to do it, right? Like he's, that's what he says he wants to do. Now, when he buys Twitter and doesn't do it, I'll say, well, yeah, Elon Musk lies about what he's going to do with Twitter and all that shit.
I think like the question is like, is Twitter not broadly inclusive right now?
They did ban Trump. That was another point they made. Would Trump be able to come back if Elon Musk buys this? Which I don't think it will. Trump has too much influence, and you don't want.
So is like being criminally like. So what Trump was banned for was something that was pretty obviously egregious, right? Spreading lies about an election.
I don't think they'll let him come back. I think he just has too much.
It would just be him, right? You don't think you would let
the whole Capitol riot thing never happened? They would let him back? Maybe,
Maybe.
If Elon Musk bought it, he would let him back. But since that Capitol riot thing, you can't let Donald Trump back on Twitter because.
But like broadly inclusive, right? Like he would be. I don't think it's a good thing for Trump like to have that kind of like access. Remember, he was the hottest thing on Twitter for a long time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to let him back. I think everybody broadly inclusive except for you. You can't come back, bro.
That's not broadly inclusive, or is that broadly inclusive?
It's not broadly inclusive at all.
Well, I don't know. Like
broadly,
I don't know. Like what? Nobody else got banned off of that joint, right?
But Trump also was the president of the United States. So it was different. They weren't used to presidents tweeting. You know what I mean? And
crazy.
Yeah. So a con to according to this article, a con to Elon Musk owning Twitter, reality of free speech. So that's kind of what you're saying. While supporters have praised Musk's championing of free speech, others fear he will open the door to hate speech and misinformation. Trump has said that he will not return to Twitter even if allowed back, although USA Today suggested the former U.S. president may have trouble resisting the siren song, the massive siren.
No way if they let him back on, there's no way he's not going to be on that show.
I can reach millions.
He'll give it like 2 weeks. Give it like 2 weeks, and he'll be like, "Fine, I'll come back." Because only because you begged me. Only because you begged me.
Only
because you need me.
He always does this shit right here. You know what I mean? Like,
only because you need me.
Because you begged me, I will definitely do it.
I'll do you a favor. Only because you asked. Yeah. And I'm so very generous and nice.
He'd still be on it if they had to kick his ass off. So don't tell me he ain't coming back. Dude. But yeah, that's what you were saying. You can't have too much free speech because it promotes hate. I remember I was watching this some documentary. I think it was like something they were talking about the Ku Klux Klan and how like back in like 1917, the Ku Klux Klan, or it might have been 1930 something, Ku Klux Klan was able to hold march in DC, and they had all these Klansmen marching in DC down Capitol Street with fucking shits and all that, and that's the essence of free speech, right? Like you can have a hate group, have a demonstration openly in your nation's capital. That's what free speech is supposed to be about. But that's also why you have to curb that shit, because hate speech, you don't want Klan rallies being able to be held in a forum on Twitter. You know what I mean? You don't want, but I guess isn't that the point of it though? You know what I mean?
Twitter?
Being able to have a space to share ideas, you know, regardless of what those ideas might be, right? Like me and you get together on Twitter, we might discuss having the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. Another group of friends get together on Twitter, they might discuss, you know, how to beat up some niggers and some Latinas and some LGBTQ members. You know what I mean? So it's just the ability to be able to share ideas and thoughts over a platform where you do have history. It's not like it's not regulated. You know what I mean? Like I don't think Elon's saying he wants to change the regulations, right? I'm sure if you say certain things, you can get banned. You know?
Yeah, I feel like he would have to, because like I said about 8chan, like ultimately, this 44 billion is not something you buy an app for because you think it's fun. I assume he's gonna want to make some kind of money off of this bitch, right? You want to recoup some of that cost somehow, right? And if he takes Twitter, like here, Twitter is already not very profitable as far as tech companies go. So in a way, he kind of just threw a bunch of money that could have solved world hunger into an app just for the shits and giggles of it.
That's true.
And
44 billion to buy it. If it's not,
and if he wants to make any money off of it, he's gonna have to either he's gonna get rid of the nudity and the porn on Twitter to try to make it more palatable to advertisers, which is going to crash Twitter.
Oh, sex drives these platforms. I mean, you know, sex is one thing that always sells, regardless of race, religion.
Or he's gonna let all the hate speech and all the stuff go unwarranted, which is gonna crash Twitter, right? It's just like there's only so many things you can do. What are you gonna add? If he wants to continue making money off of this junk, he kind of has to leave it alone, and I guess add the edit tweet button that he wanted, that he like teased on like April Fools or some shit. But like, there's not really much you can do. I feel like if you don't think like Twitter has been like moderated and regulated and edited by like the most like money-minded, advertise-minded groups of people, like for years, like people at the highest levels of like finance and like marketing, who they've already done all that stuff. I don't know what Elon Musk thinks he's gonna do to make it better, like actually better. Like I can't imagine what he would actually do to make it better. Like I don't know.
That's one of the
Tesla
cons.
logo on it.
It's one of the cons on the list. Is the profit question. So Musk has insisted he cares more about free speech than money. But Vox pointed out that his Twitter deal is partially financed with debt from the banks, which will eventually want their money back. Advertising currently accounts for nearly 90% of Twitter's revenue, with data licensing providing most of the rest. Given those figures, paying back his debt without advertising would be difficult. So what can you do? They already have advertising. What are you going to add? Better advertisements, more interactive advertisements? Like what ideas are you bringing? What ideas are you bringing to this platform that's going to make this 44 billion viable for you? You know what I mean? Like, because if it's me, I'm not. Is he just one of those types of billionaires that just?
We're gonna have VR. It's gonna be VR Twitter. You're gonna be actually going to the actual tweet itself in 3D space.
Those net worth figures are always questionable, right? Like, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk, as rich as he is, doesn't have 44 billion liquid just sitting around. All right, so what are we getting this money? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the dealings and all that. Is he just being a billionaire, or is he legitimately trying to bring change to this platform for the betterment of society? You know what I mean?
I think he just wants to be in the news.
That's another pro to this is him buying Twitter will actually be a good thing for Twitter. It'll be a good thing for the platform to bring notoriety and more attention to the platform because of his status as Elon Musk. And you know, that's one of the pros is that it's good for the platform for him to buy this, because it was kind of stagnating, you know, like therefore it's not very profitable. So what leads to the question, why the hell are you buying it? What are you doing? Like, I guess you're just rich. Yeah, I don't know.
He's just rich and bored, man. Like, I don't know. He's just
$44 billion.
he just wants to be in the news, man. Like, here. Well, there was I don't know if you know that like old there was a meme. It's an old Spider-Man comic frame with Spider-Man and forgot the villain's name, but he's like part man, part pterodactyl, right? And Spider-Man in the frame, he's like, "Wow, you've made an amazing cure. You can cure cancer." And the guy's like trying to like the villain. He's like trying to turn people into dinosaurs. I don't know what comic book shit. So he's like, "Wow, you have all this genius and technology. You could cure cancer. You could save people in the world." And the guy's like, "I don't want to save people in the world. I want to turn people into dinosaurs." And it's just like Elon Musk is like, "Dude, you just blew $44 billion. You could have solved world hunger." He was like, "I don't want to solve world hunger. I want to buy an app and own an app." And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? It's crazy. Look, I'm sorry. It's crazy villain shit.
It's like we were talking about last time. These rich people, these billionaires and trillionaires, they don't know what to spend their money on. So you just kind of spend it on. I mean, everything's owned. Everything is umbrella done for something else, right? So
either you coat yourself in $9,000 worth of lobster and shrimp in a restaurant and bathe in hot butter, right?
Right.
Or you buy Twitter, right? It's like, what else can you do, man?
Right.
They bored as shit.
There's not many pros on this list. They said one pro is clearing out the bots and the spam. He'll clean up, a lot of the bots being generated on there. And
I get it. Like, I think they should do that anyway. Like, did you hear about the whole with Twitter, the drop in numbers of user of dang it, what do you call it? Followers.
Human
so
users.
Obama, huh?
Like human users, like actual people.
Well, I mean, like for certain followers or for certain figures, right? Like Obama lost like a large amount of followers overnight, like a couple 100,000 followers. And some right-wing channels gained like a couple 100,000 followers. And everybody's like, what's going on here? Like, why? Like, and that's the day after Musk said he was going to buy Twitter. He said that they accepted his deal. That happened the day after, and everybody's like, what was this weird realignment about? Because somebody explained this, and Twitter was like, oh no, it's just natural shrug. Like, no, it's not. Y'all were doing something fishy. Like, what were y'all doing? Like,
these apps are way more tightly
So
controlled.
if anything, he shook Twitter at the very least, right? He shook Twitter to the point where I don't know what they did, but they like a lot of people and it seemed to be along political lines, which is the weirdest part. But like a lot of leftists was like, yeah, we lost like a bunch of followers. A lot of right wingers were like, oh, we gained a bunch of followers. What's up with that?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Is that bots? How would that realignment happen? What does it dictate? Like,
definitely way
what
more
does it imply?
than we think it is.
Yeah, definitely. Those algorithms are like fishy.
The last con, according to this list, like I said, theweek.com, of Elon Musk owning Twitter, the democracy gap. Musk has called Twitter a digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. But some critics question whether such an important democratic infrastructure should be owned by the world's richest man. Again, that tie between the business and the politics, right? Like Musk rival Jeff Bezos also tweeted a query about the influence of China, Tesla's second largest market, and its leverage over the town square once Musk is in charge. It's a good point. So Musk has dealings with China. Twitter is banned in China. If Musk owns this platform, what does that do for China? Like, is there some kind of dealings involved with the Chinese government? Maybe he'll open the platform to the Chinese and kind of conform it to the way they want to. Because I think we're being Americans ourselves, China's a player, man. They're a player in the world market, man. Like, they're there. Like, in a lot of ways, they're greater country than us. There's a lot of people who say China is the greatest economy in the world now. It's not America anymore. We have this idealism where we think it's America is the greatest country in the world. And I'm sure there are parts about America that are greater. I still would love to go to China. I heard China is like really racist. I was like, they're really racist against black people. Like over. That's what I heard. I've never been, but
yeah, I heard.
Like, I'll call you a nigga to your face over that. That's what I heard. I don't know.
I mean, it'll be in Chinese, so you won't understand it, but yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, those types of things can't be underestimated, man. What is the dealings with the Chinese government and Tesla? And yes, China has an overpopulation problem, right? So carbon emissions, they're looking for clean forms of energy. Elon Musk is into the clean energy market, battery cars. They supply the batteries for Teslas.
Yeah.
So what's the end game?
That would be interesting, man.
What's the end game, man? What are you trying to do with this? Like, why is this in the news? Why are we talking about this more than Afghanistan or Russia and all that stuff? Like, why are we talking about this? What's the end game? Why? What are we missing? Just some questions. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Elon Musk just wants to be in the news.
Of course.
Yeah, I think he just wants to be in the news, man. Like, I don't even think, honestly. So Tesla stock dropped like 20% like last week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Part of me is just like he's not even actually going to buy it. I mean, I'm surprised if he does. He might. It's like the deal's not done. Like they accepted his offer, but it's not done.
Dude, that's so you want to buy a car.
Yeah, it's like okay, well, he could just back out.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he would want to do this. Like, I can't really see any serious benefit. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care enough about Twitter to care whether or not their value goes up. And I can't imagine he does either. I think he just wants to own something to be fancy, right? Just to be like, hey, I have this thing. Same reason you buy a car. He's like, I own Twitter. I bought Twitter, right? I think that's really it, man. Like, if he does really, like, my thing about the whole free speech thing and this whole town square, okay, well, maybe the government, if you really want to be a town square, maybe the government should run Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but nobody wants that either because it would just suck, right?
Like I think the government,
because for it to be for Twitter to be useful, right? It has to be. It can't be literally just free speech, otherwise it becomes a cesspool. Like I said before, like there's like stochastic. There's other ways to silence people, right? And Twitter right now is a place where people can speak as long as they're within a certain bounds. And there have to be actual limitations on freedom of speech for people to be heard equally, right? Because if there's not limitations on freedom of speech, then there will be certain groups, just like the KKK would want to do marches in the streets, right? The government couldn't stop that, but who would have to limit that speech would be the people. You'll have to have counter protesters. You would have to have, or you would have to, if you had any public funding or not private funding, that company would have to be ridiculed to the point to where they remove that funding from this organization, right? Because that's how the equality of the speech would work. But if you're marching or protesting for like animal rights, I don't think anybody would be like, hey, screw those animals, right? But if you're marching or preaching about hating a certain group of people because of inherent traits they can't help, well then yeah, that's definitely something that's going to have pushback. So Twitter has to be, in a way, not completely free for it to work, right? Because if it's not, then it will just be another trashy cesspool. It'll just be another 8chan.
Isn't that kind of a contradiction, though, to say that we need to regulate what we post and say on a platform in order for everybody to have a fair chance to say what they want. You know what I mean? Like, I think the whole
Doesn't mean it's not true.
you're right. It's not, but it's weird. It's just it seems like a contradiction. You're right though, because you don't want it to turn into cesspool. But cesspools of what? It could be cesspools of religion. It could be cesspools of hate. It could be cesspools of anything. Yeah, I don't know. It seems weird to regulate something that you want to be fair for everybody, because that means you can regulate against anyone. You can regulate against the hate people, the people who are just speaking about something that you don't want them to speak about. You know, I remember.
That's why a private company would have to do this, or a public owned company, right? Like it's publicly owned now, it's traded on the stock market, but in order to keep the advertisers, you need to be reasonably fair, or right. And but if it's literally just run by the government, if it's literally treated as a town square, then the only way to really push back against that would be for private individuals to do so, right? Or it would have to be for private companies to do so, or people would just have to leave the platform. And either in any case, like, it's not good for Twitter.
I think it's kind of interesting because, you know, somebody else said that it needs to be user controlled in order for it to really be a free platform for free speech. But I don't know. I don't see the benefits of Elon Musk behind it. I think a lot of this is just posturing. Like, you know, a peacock will fold out its tail and try to look brighter. You know, I think that's what he's doing. I mean, let's not forget, Elon Musk has like 85 billion followers or a million followers on Twitter. He's a Twitter user. So, of course, if they tell Elon Musk, hey, you can't talk about this on Twitter, I'll just buy this motherfucking place. Like, I'll just buy Twitter. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's what happened.
You going to tell me I can't say something? I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna show you. Right? This is gonna be for. I can say whatever I want about whatever I want. It's one of those billionaire things that most people don't care about.
Just throwing a tantrum. A rich person's tantrum.
And he's not used to being told you can't. I'm Elon Musk. I can. You know what I mean? I'm one of the richest men in the world. You don't tell me what I can do. You know, as good as I want to believe that he is, he's still a billionaire and he's a capitalist, and you know, he's deceitful. You know, like you said with the stock prices, you drive them up on purpose. That's just playing the game. They do that. They'll badmouth the company, get the price to drop. You know, to buy up all the shares, the price goes back up. Yeah, that's just market manipulation. That's how the game works. You know, wasn't there
an unregulated market? There's a lot of victims.
Wasn't there an issue going on some months back with GameStop? How like a bunch of people were trying to manipulate the stock price of GameStop, and there's an app. What's it called? Robinhood. You can buy and sell stocks. Like, I mean, I can buy and sell trade stocks on Robinhood, and there was something where like the guy tried to manipulate the price dropped. A whole bunch of users, regular people, bought the stocks, and they made money off of this stockbroker who. So it was like a big hubbub. This was a couple months ago. You don't remember?
I watched a whole documentary on that, John. Like, so the whole thing is that like the price for GameStop was already low, right? It's like terribly low. Like GameStop was not doing well, so a lot of users. That's the thing. This was kind of like a grassroots thing. This isn't one person, right? But this is a grassroots thing. Like a lot of people organized on Reddit to go and purchase all these stocks or all these shares of GameStop, therefore raising the value of it. Right. So it's not like one person did it. In a way,
it's like
that's how it's supposed to work, right? Like people invest in this stock and it blows up. And so the only issue that I've seen was that Robert ain't like that.
Yeah.
The rich folk at the top ain't like that. That's not what Robinhood is for. Robinhood is to make money.
It's our game. You know what I mean?
This is our game. Yeah. You normies out here. No, you can't do that. And so they literally stopped allowing people to buy shares of GameStop. And in that, it's like that's the issue with what Robinhood is, right? It's like, oh well, aren't you supposed to be fair? We're supposed to buy whatever we want. Right. You're offering us this. No, I think John Oliver had a whole segment. Not John Oliver. Yeah, no, John Oliver. I don't know if you ever watched the show, but yeah, he had a whole thing on that, man. Like went into depth on it. It's really good. It's on
Yeah, that
YouTube.
was a hot button issue for a good week, 2 weeks. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I mean that's just the way the game is played, and maybe Elon Musk is doing a little bit of that with because I mean I know me as a non-billionaire from the outside looking in, I'm like I can't see any pros to him buying Twitter. Why would you want to do that? Like you really got 44 billion just sitting around and you can just throw it. And you're right, Phil's not done. It's not like he owns Twitter. You know what I'm saying? It's not like going to
Nah.
buy a DVD or something. You know what I mean? Like there are systems that you have to follow in order to do this. But I don't think he's going to do it. I just think Elon Musk is not used to being told no, and he's not used to being told you can't. And he's like, yes, I can, motherfucker. You know what I mean? I'm one of the Jeff Bezos would have done the same thing. He brought up the point about Elon Musk's relationship with China, but Jeff Bezos ain't used to being told no either. If Twitter told Jeff Bezos no, and is
I
Jeff
mean,
Bezos?
Jeff Bezos bought Washington Post.
Yeah, that's a
He did buy the
newspaper.
Washington Post.
Right? I think Twitter's a little more fluent than the Washington. Yeah, he did. He did buy that shit. I'm telling you, man, there's a whole thing about there being a hit piece on the Washington Commanders now. What do you think about the name change, D? I never asked you, bro. We're the Commanders now, bro.
The Commanders?
Bro, you didn't know? Damn, Juice,
No,
man, you
no.
detached from sports, dog. Yeah,
I
so
am absolutely detached from sports. I didn't know that they stopped being the Redskins until like a month after that.
Yeah, it's the Washington Commanders now. I'm like, I don't really like it so far, but it's 2022. It's better than Redskins. I still got all my Redskins stuff up. So.
That's a shitty title. That's a shitty name, man. I'm sorry. Commanders.
Nobody likes it. I think
it's a terrible name.
They said they were trying to make it fit in with the rest of, how they got the Capitals, the Nationals, and now it's the Commanders. It's a whole DC kind of theme of, politics and military and all that. And, so it's just the Commanders. It's fine. I think once they start winning games, you got to win. You got to win.
You got to win. Right.
Winning something, I think people will catch on to it. But a lot of people hate it.
So it's on them. Essentially, it's on the Redskins to actually start winning.
Hey, the Commanders, man. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's on the Commanders now to start winning to make their name acceptable.
I was telling people,
honestly, they should have stuck with the Washington football team. They should have stuck with that until they won a Super Bowl and then changed it.
I hated it. It's just too generic and plain. The Washington Football Club.
Actually, it's better than the Commanders. The Washington team is better than the Commanders.
Right now, it is. A lot of people are like, man, why would they change the logo? The logo was better with the Washington football team.
What's the logo?
Well, it was a W, just the Washington football team, not a W. Okay. Now it's like a 3D W that comes out at you. You know what I mean? It's cool. But hey, I be telling people, man, it's 2022. You can't have teams called the Redskins. You know what I mean? Like you got other teams that can slip by, like the Chiefs and the Seminoles and the Blackhawks, because
those aren't like slurs.
Connotation to the
like Seminoles is actually the name of the tribe, right?
Like it, you can't. But I think a lot of Indian groups want all Indian monikers out of sports, but I don't think they're going to get it. Definitely not as quickly. Redskins would you can't have a professional sports team named the Redskins, bro. It's 2022. Come on, you know what I mean? But yeah, Commanders is something. It's fine, whatever. They just got.
This is the logo here.
Yeah. So like they're trying to come out with like the 3D. See like the yellow lines going from like left to right. They're kind of coming out like a 3D kind of. But all I see is a block. Somebody said it looks like a taco holder when you go out.
It does look like a taco holder. That's a terrible.
Yeah, that's why I said I didn't like it at first. But
I'm sure somebody got paid billions of dollars to make this.
Once I see them win some games, I'll be in on it more. You know what I'm saying? Once I see them win. So that's the old W, the one at the bottom on the left.
Where this one?
The very bottom picture, yeah, it's the old Washington football team W. So now they changed it to the one on the right bottom, which is the Washington Commanders W.
So what's the mascot look like?
So they don't have a mascot right now. I think it's 2020. You don't really need a mascot. And also their secondary one is sealed. Scroll back down on the pictures. They have like a secondary logo. See the circular Commanders right there, 1932.
Wait, where? This one?
Yeah, it's right below the uniform. It's like see, it says Commanders in the middle. It's a circle. It's got the 3 stars and a W. Yep. Right there. But so that's the secondary logo. It's fine. It's cool.
Okay.
Don't okay. So I don't want to hear no more. You got your racist ass team name and all that. I don't want to hear that shit no more. All right, I was getting tired.
Hey, there's no reason to say it no more.
Shit was racist though, but it's like, come on, you can't have a team Redskins, bro.
What was it? the whiteys,
Redskins to me.
the Washington white folk.
Until they win something, then you're gonna be calling them the Commanders. They gotta win.
Yeah, they gotta win. It's all good though. Like that's cool, man. Just took a while.
Because we were talking about Jeff Bezos. So there's a thing that Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Commanders, is in the news about like sexual scandals going on at the team. How like a lot of cheerleaders were harassed and sexually harassed by executives and members of the front office, and how Dan
It's just
Snyder.
like the most believable thing in the world, right?
I think it happens at every sports franchise. It's not just
100%.
You get old rich men, young stud athletes, and hot women together. It's a mix of money and muscles and titties. Like you're gonna
money, muscles, and titties. Yeah.
Sugar daddies and all that.
Put that on a t-shirt.
So like as many women that said no, I'm not comfortable here. There was a bunch of women that say yes, yeah, I'll take that money. I'll do this thing for that money. Oh, we're having a party with all the executives in the hotel. Yeah, me and 5 of my friends will come through, and y'all will pay us. And they've earned thousands and thousands of dollars. So, like, that's the way this stuff runs. But there's
but that don't mean that they were right. It was wrong.
Theory and that Bezos, because of his ownership of the Washington Post, and because of them wanting to put an Amazon headquarters in Alexandria and all that, are they still doing that? Is that still a thing? Or was it because I know
I haven't heard anything about it. It's been quiet.
I haven't heard anything either. But there's a conspiracy theory that Jeff Bezos is driving this campaign to own the Washington Commanders, right? So he's trying to slander Dan Snyder because none of this stuff has been proven. It's all hearsay. He said, she said. So it's slander that he's trying to badmouth Dan Snyder to own the Washington Commanders because owning a sports franchise is a good way to gain leverage with athletes, politicians, celebrities.
What's the evidence for the conspiracy theory?
Well, it's just because all this stuff is coming out of nowhere. I mean, a lot of these accusations happened in 2006. It's like the Bill Cosby thing. They happened years ago. So now women coming out of nowhere that are saying they were sexually harassed. The one woman said that Dan Snyder put his hand on the small of her back and tried to nudge her into the back of his limousine until one of his security guys came up and said, "No, Dan, that's a bad idea." Like they testified in front of Congress. They had a Congress hearing, Senate hearing, and all this shit. You know what I mean? Like this shit is in trouble. He's going to like the Supreme Court. Like they ordered the NFL to investigate inside the team facility. Like this shit is involving the government. It's all coming out of nowhere. It's like, so it's like, okay, maybe Jeff Bezos does want the team. I mean, Jeff Bezos is one of the richest motherfuckers. He could own a team easily. I think the NFL would love to have somebody like Jeff Bezos and his connections as a member of the NFL fraternity. You know what I mean? Because it's just billionaire owners who own sports franchises. Like it's a play thing to them. You know what I mean?
Trading cards, like owning Twitter.
Bezos don't want to own a sports.
Why doesn't Elon just buy a sports team? Come on, just do that. Nobody
I don't think
cares.
they a lot of times, right? Like these things are owned generationally. Like
just buy the Utah Raptors.
I think like the owner of the New York Giants football team, they've owned the team since like 1936 or something. Like so, yeah, a lot of this shit goes back. It's family heritage and shit. I don't think they come available to up for sale a lot. But yeah, it's a conspiracy theory, man. It is what it is. But hey, Musk, I don't really use Twitter like that, so it doesn't affect me one bit. There was a poll I saw on Instagram and Facebook or something. Like, do you care if Elon Musk buy Twitter? The overwhelming majority said don't care. You know what I mean? Nobody really cares. It's billionaire play things. So
I'll only care if like Twitter like ends up crashing, but you just won't know. Because honestly, I feel like if he actually buys it, he's not going to do shit because he can't do shit.
What can
right?
you do?
He just literally can't. Like, there's only so much you can do. You're going to put Trump back on? Okay. I guess that's really the only like really big downside would be to open it back up to Trump. But everybody else is trying to get to his level. So it's already bad enough.
I think it would be good for the notoriety of Twitter to allow Trump to rejoin.
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so.
Bruh.
The notoriety of Twitter, I don't know, man. I don't think so. But we'll see.
I think so. He brings a lot of interest to the platform, and attention. Somebody said, bad press or good press. This press need to be talked about to be profitable in anything. So I think if they do allow Trump to come back, it'd be a hot button topic. People would be talking about it. I think certain people, members of society, would come back to Twitter just because Donald Trump came back. Be on it. Oh, let me see what Trump said today.
I feel like some people will leave.
Yeah, but overall, who cares? So
Yeah.
Anyway,
man, it's all good.
Twitter and Musk. We didn't even touch on the whole LGBTQ inmate at the women's prison. Impregnating one of the female guards there.
That was one of the topics.
Inmates.
Yeah, but it's midnight.
That's why I said, like, I think we covered 3 topics, so that's what, 45 minutes a topic or so. That's not
about the 3 topics. Yeah, my bad. I forgot to put the timer on.
Yeah, we'll do it next time, man. So
yeah,
the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, it's not going nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We'll bring different guests to you guys, man. Like whoever watching this now or in the future, try to bring.
Yeah, we gotta get some friends.
And get some different perspectives in it, yeah, man, it's been a good cast, man. Like,
yes,
I think
sir.
we covered topics. We did our Batman review. We should have did a reaction video. We should have did that Batman. As soon as we log off, and I go on I'm watching Batman.
We're gonna talk about that. You'll notice he doesn't get shot at all. But
I'm about to watch that right now. Well, he kind of can. It's lasers versus bullets. Lasers don't bounce off of Kevlar. You know what I'm saying? I imagine they would just go right through. They're just beams of light.
Hey, yeah, we'll see.
Whereas a lead projectile, he can take a couple of those off there. You know what I mean? And you know what made that scene cool?
Will Batman don't get shot like that?
You know what it made it cool? Because the light from the muzzle blast lit up, and then the sparks of it hitting his actual armor. It was cool. Not that it made him getting shot at any time, but it was visually it was cool. So
just do better, Bats.
Mm-hmm. He was unseasoned. He wasn't seasoned yet.
Yeah.
Gotta get a seasoned Batman. But yeah, man, it's been a good cast, man. Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Come back next time. You guys another episode, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey. Been a good cast. Peace.
All right, guys. Peace.
I swear I gotta do better on my wrap ups.